Okay, hi everybody. I'm here talking to Danny Bartlett, who I've known for a great many years. In fact, the rest of the day, I've known you for more than 10 years. Fitness king, personal trainer, and Lego aficionado, Danny Bartlett.
Check this out. Trunk.
Where and what is your sweat equity? What measures are you prepared to invest in yourself? Because that's what it is, folks. A higher quality of life and improvements in your quality of life and your health are an investment. Newsflash, everybody, you're always on a diet. I want you to view this as mental fitness.
As we all know, aesthetics are not health.
If we're absolutely honest, anyone that embarks on a diet is looking to reduce their body fat, not their weight. Weight is just mass. I can take 5 kilos off you with a chainsaw. You won't be any healthier, but you'll have reached your goal. Okay, Danny, so give us a bit of an introduction about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Well, I think you just did it for me, mate. you just said that. Yeah, I didn't realise I'd known you for 10 years.
Longer.
My word.
When you think about it, I did your very first ever TRX instructors course at the Aviation Club.
Oh, my word. Oh, well, actually, I know we're recording right now, but we haven't settled this. What is the rule upon use of colourful language?
Oh,
Better set that rule now, because I do like to drop the F-bomb a lot. So,
in all fairness, we'll just talk as we talk, and if I decide it's going on a sensitive medium, I'll bleep it out.
All right, well, that's just more work for you. You realise that?
Yeah, it'll be
all right. Are you sure?
I saw last night doing another one, so it'll be fine.
Okay.
I didn't mean it, and I got scowled at by the wife.
You heard it here first, people. So if I tend to swear a lot, he's going to have to add a lot of beats. But I will avoid that. But yes, I didn't realise it was been that long, buddy. It's been great. Thank you so much. This is a real honour to be part of your first podcast series. So that's fantastic. I've been in the industry for a long time. Trying to figure. I've been in Dubai for 20 years now, and I was in the industry for at least 4 or 5 years before that. So yeah, let's say 25 years.
Yes.
My main role now is before recent events is back to doing personal training bits and pieces. But a big chunk of my time here in Dubai over 10 years has been working globally for TRX as a senior master instructor, and amongst another couple of brands. But right now, the main brands that I work with and probably will remain with and not introduce any others are, like I said, TRX and ZUU. Okay, and that's pretty much it, buddy. Anything other than that, you're just gonna have to find out.
Yeah, okay. Cool. Well, we'll get your plugs and social media on that towards the end of it. Right. So if you've been doing this, working in the industry for 20 plus years, what was fitness and exercise like for you in early life, like way back in the day? Because you and I are a similar kind of age. You know, maybe 12 months or so different, but.
Well, I'm looking at Richard now. Anybody that's listening to this, looking at the colour of his beard compared to mine. So I've got a lot more white in my beard compared to him. Now he either dyes it, which I don't think he does, because I can see some specks of white. But you may be right about our ages being the same, but I do think I look a little bit older. So many years ago, I've always been into sport, health and fitness. When I was a kid in primary school onwards, I was a runner. Cross-country running is something that I preferred more. And I was a Cub Scout, and we did that as well. So I was a cross-country runner for the Cubs and cross-country runner for the primary school. I represented Kent in that when I was much younger. But at the same time, played a lot of football. Dabbled in rugby at that age, so you're talking about 8 or 9. And anything in between, to be honest with you. Loved riding the BMX. I was a boxer at that young age too. But you could say that it was running, playing football, and generally being active outdoors. I really didn't care. The boxing stuff was the nighttime thing, and football and running during the day.
Cool. Yeah. So how did that progress into getting older, into your teens and sort of like later teens, outside of the school environment? When you don't have those kind of teams anymore, unless you're seeking them out. How did that go from that to like that point in your life?
There was a big change there, actually, buddy. So I continued to play football and rugby. Wasn't running around too much, but as I was a teenager, I got more into, believe it or not, as we've just been messing around with technology, information technology. My diploma is in information technology. I loved using computers and playing with computers. And then, of course, I discovered rock and roll. And rock and roll led me down to the dark side, which also included, beer. Lots of beer, and then more beer, and then other kinds of alcohol. And that kind of then meant that a lot of the sports and games kind of went off the boil,
Right.
but still playing football on a Saturday and a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I think I was playing football. I'm sure if anyone was watching it, it wasn't. So it kind of, the fitness side was still a part of my life, but it was mainly the team sports, football and or rugby.
Right. Okay.
But should we say, the gym stuff wasn't really a thing. I did occasionally, but I was ignorant and young. So if I did go to the gym, it was bound to be Hollywood muscle training, and that was it. And then when I eventually found that I really didn't want a job in information technology, and this was around early 20s. I tried to get a job in that industry. I ended up getting a job in that industry. I mean, long story short, I did loads of other jobs, working in pubs and bars and outdoors, digging holes, anything to pay the rent, etc. Yeah. But then it was a point of, well, I've got this diploma thing, I should use it. I lasted 2 weeks. I founded a job, literally 2 weeks. I found a job, and lasted 2 weeks in this office environment where I had to wear a shirt and tie, even though I was not interacting with any other people other than my fellow office workers. And I was in front of a screen all the time. And up to that point, I've been playing football and rugby and stuff, but I've also been working outdoors, physical labour, paying the rent, like I said. And I really hated it. I hated this situation, this environment. It even got to a point, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later. And this was, like I say, over 25 years ago now, where the other people in the office thought I was strange, because when lunchtime came, I actually wanted to get out of the office, get on my feet and go and sit in a local park in fresh air. This was in the UK, so I hesitate to say sunlight, but in daylight.
Non-fluorescent light.
Exactly. And they thought I was weird for doing that. They didn't understand it. Even the boss is like, well, we really would like you to stay in the office in case of call. And even even back then, there was bits of my brain were going, that's not right, that's not good, that's not me. I'm not going to be happy if you're going to say I've got to stay here 9 hours in front of a screen and not even have a chance to go and get some fresh air. So even before we start talking about where my career is now, about movement and health in general, even then I knew that wasn't good. This is back before we had social media and people telling us sitting on your arse all day is bad. And I walked out of that place 2 weeks later thinking, what the fuck am I going to do now? Oh, there's the first beep. Sorry. What am I going to do now?
6 minutes in.
What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
So the only other thing I was minorly interested in was sport, fitness, because I'd still been doing those things I was talking about. So I decided to get my gym instructor qualification with the YMCA.
Oh, okay.
Where you might remember those back in the day. Maybe they still are around, I'm not sure.
They probably are somewhere.
Yep.
Look, I mean, I hear you on the whole living inside an office environment. I mean, when I was going through all my resettlement bits and pieces, when I knew I'd done 9 years in the military, I'm out. You know, I was 27 at the time. I was like, I haven't got a mortgage and wife and kids to say you need secure pay.
Yep.
And I don't see my career going where I would like, because I've had X injuries, I've been in and out of hospital, pastures new kind of thing. And I was going through that kind of process, and I already knew the kind of steer I was taking, because I'd gone through rehabilitation. I saw where my brain was interested. And my dad said to me at the time, probably as you were thinking, I know you've got the brains for it, but you are never going to work in an office because it will kill you.
Yep.
It was like, you could sit there and be fantastic at the job thrown at you, but inside you are going to be having a slow death.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I may end up sat behind a desk doing some things in my career, but it can't be the mainstay of it.
Yep. And sadly, that's where a lot of people are today.
Yeah,
As you and I are sitting here right now, that's where the world is today.
Yeah.
And it's not good. It's not looking good.
No,
it's
I mean,
not looking
and
healthy.
unfortunately, as I said to people for years, the Industrial Revolution was supposed to lead to a world where we do less, so we have more leisure time.
Yep.
And instead, centuries later, it's progressed to a point of we filled the time not so much doing the manual labour, but we're still sat down, working, labouring essentially for someone else, albeit on a computer screen rather than with a hammer or a saw or whatever else, or manual tools. And then we spend our spare time sat down over television or on the phone, or people have to actively seek to be active. It's got to be a deliberate thought process of, I'm going to go for a walk with a dog because I don't walk to work anymore. I don't walk to school. I'm going to have to start exercising 3 or 4 times a week because I don't play sport during lunchtimes at school anymore. And it's a contagion that's spread, and you've got to convince people now to be active for their own benefit.
Yep.
It's
and the pushback you get from that is frustratingly frustrating and frustratingly simple, that it's an easy fix. I can't because, well, when are you going to At what point, and unfortunately you've mentioned that you were in and out of hospitals, is it going to take you going to hospital for you to realise that this, should we call it a lifestyle, even though it's not much of a life, this current lifestyle is not good for you. And if you say, I have to do this because I've got to do this and this is causing this and I can't do this and that, and you're wrong. You can stop all of that, or you can do less of that. It's not an important email, because if it was important, it would be a phone call. No one sends an important email. You know, help, I'm stuck in a ditch. I'll send an email to Richard to come and get me out.
Away,
exactly. So it's very, very frustrating right now that unfortunately technology, which has been great for us, has now become our masters. And it does not make a good master. No, it really doesn't.
You've only got to look at modern tech. I mean, I have conversations with potential new clients, and like, okay, I'm doing all this, and my watch tells me this information, and I've got it synced to an app on my phone, and my watch is linked to my scales at home as part of the brand that we use, and all this kind of stuff. And like, but guess what? If you look back to the greats and the back to the Atlas days of where people that were bodybuilders were circus entertainers, they looked like they did with six packs and bulging muscles, and they didn't have apps. They understood exercise builds strength. You shape your muscles through use. You can tailor your diet for calories, all that kind of stuff. You know, we've got to a point where people go, okay, I'm going to exercise, but only if I can plug in my phone to the screen on my treadmill and I can watch stuff when I'm walking just fast enough to keep the machine switching off.
As you're talking, Rich, I'm not ignoring you, I promise. Obviously, it's not a very good podcast. I'm actually looking through this book that I'm reading at the moment, and you mentioned apps, and I can't find the stat. I'll try and find it as we're talking. But the app thing, 0.7 of all apps that are being used, not downloaded, being used, 0.7 are fitness apps.
I can believe that.
So they're not being used. Obviously, the top ones are Instagram, Facebook and stuff, but even things like Pinterest and stuff are way above this. 0.7 for actual apps being used are fitness apps. And I think, and that's why I was smiling when you were saying that. I said, okay, you've got an app that's connected to your scales, to your fridge, to your pedometer, to your this. Are you getting up and going and exercising?
Does that translate to what you put into play? I mean, I know from when I did my qualifications to be an Ironman coach, you can take so much data to really, really finesse someone's programming to get the best out of their performance. But unless you're doing something with that data, it's completely worthless.
Absolutely, knowledge is nothing without application.
No,
I don't care how many books you read. If you're not going to apply that knowledge, I mean, I'm sure you have, because you've been working in certain parts of the industry longer than I have. Qualifications, fantastic, wonderful. Take on board new knowledge. Attend training courses. You might learn something. You'll learn something, even if it's that you learn that is useless. But now you come from a place of knowledge, and you can say, well, I've done that. I've used that. It doesn't really work. It doesn't really do what it says on the tin. But unless you're going to apply anything you've learned, what's the point? I've had sports, Loughborough University. So we've had sports.
Science.
Sport. That's it. Thank you, Richard, for big words that I don't know. Science. Sports scientists come out and try to be PTs, and they're awful. They know everything. They'll know every muscle in the body. They'll name its Latin origins and all that wonderful stuff. They'll tell you everything about physiology. But unless you can apply that knowledge to the client and get them to go for a walk with their dog and understand the importance of that, it's pointless. It's useless information unless you can apply it. And app stuff is, again, unless you can apply that knowledge that your scales say this, well, what are you going to do with it now? What are you going to do?
I've seen that same thing with high-end and professional athletes that become coaches and trainers. Like, I did all this in the Olympics, and I was a professional X for 10, 15 years, and I made millions, and my next career step, I'm not going to go into TV because I can't talk on a microphone. I'm going to open a gym, or I'm going to be a PT. And great, your ambition's there, and you've got this wealth of experience, but you've never been taught to be a trainer. You don't. Most likely,
it's not to say they couldn't be. They've got to understand. They've got to have a bit of humility, right, and go, right, okay, I need to now step back a few things and learn something new.
The people you're not going to surround yourself with by default are not going to be highly motivated professional athletes. They're not going to have you to talk to, as well as their massage therapist and their nutritionist and their manager and all that kind of stuff. They're going to come to you and go, give me all the answers, please, for what I'm paying you, and that's it.
Because you clearly got it, and then you'll have to be humble and say, well, I got it because I've got a certain amount of natural born talent, and I've got a certain amount of natural from nature genetics and stuff. But then I had people around me that were good coaches.
Yeah, yeah.
They weren't the best players. They didn't know really, they knew what end of the tennis racket to hold,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's pretty much where their skill set was. But their ability to coach and understand how to play the
Yes.
game better, whether that was rugby, tennis, golf, whatever, was so much better than me that they made me a better player,
Yeah.
or artist, or in any profession, I reckon.
Yeah, I mean,
So for them to then think that they can then do that is not impossible. Don't get me wrong; they can be, but it's that assumption that because I was X, that means I can automatically be Y. And
Yes.
sadly, that's not the case.
And we see that, and I know this is going to come up in a conversation again in a bit, but unfortunately these days, the vast majority of the population seems to think if you see it on your phone, it's credible. And therefore, I see it, I give it credibility, therefore I don't look into its origins or its worth or value. People before me have clicked like or commented, therefore that must be more credible than the things with less likes. And then we come to the Instagram version of the fitness industry, where you have people that have got genetic gifts or pharmaceutical gifts that have been out in the sun a bit too much, and they've taken 1,400 pictures that they drip feed onto the social media and go, I look like this all year round. People go, well, like you said about ability, doesn't translate to being a coach. I look like this as a man or woman in my 20s or 30s, and I've been training, having an eating disorder and on drugs for 10 years. I'm going to be a fantastic personal trainer because people believe that I must know everything about what I do. And I know people, I know through various ways and means, the photographer for a lot of the brands that everyone knows in fashion and fitness in the UK. And if you knew, well, you probably do, but the public knew the regime of substances these people are on
For sure.
to look like what they do. Like, you are never going to look like that. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger said years ago, a long time ago, that someone said to him, God, I'd never want to look like you. And he went back to them, don't worry, you never will.
You never will,
Because you didn't start doing this 25 years ago, and you haven't eaten like I've eaten and trained like you haven't made the mistakes that I've made to then learn from them.
And in fairness to him, you haven't got the mindset potentially, because he does, with all the other stuff around that you just mentioned, there is a certain self-belief and mindset that athletes like Arnold Schwarzenegger have to get to that pinnacle of their career. They go through the hard times, and that includes the dietary stuff, the hard bit about that. And it takes a certain mindset, and especially now where everybody wants instant gratification. The thought of where you, like if Arnold Schwarzenegger said, well, you can be like that, but you're going to have to work like this for the next 20 years. Oh, well, no, I was kind of hoping that we could have it done by the end of the month because I've got a brunch to go to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they want that instant gratification. I've even noticed it now where people have said the latest Bond film was too long. What the actual F? Because it's 2.5 hours.
I've not seen it yet.
I won't spoil it for you, but it's a long film.
And
so what? Are you telling me you can't watch a film for 2.5 hours now? And I go to the movies a lot. It's another thing that I'm passionate about. And to see people in the middle of a film open their screens because you want to see if someone else has liked your Instagram post. It's shocking. That instant gratification means, where we're leading now, they don't want to put the work and time in. They want instant results. And the only way to get that is from outside substances or mixed with something else is just not effective, right? It's just not good.
I mean, by the way, if you haven't already seen it, go and see June. I've seen that. That's awesome film.
They've just confirmed that there will be number 2, by the way, which obviously it had to have, otherwise that's incredibly frustrating.
My wife actually texted me that this morning because she was like, yes, they greenlit the second one. I was like, I knew the original was from a series of books, but I didn't know until we sat down into the IMAX to watch it and the credits came up, the title screen, part 1. Like, really? Okay, cool.
Well, there better be a part 2. It was dependent on financial success,
I'm sure,
and it was dumped onto HBO, which we don't have here in Dubai. So that was their model where they can get a little bit of extra cash from TV in the US because it's not quite as open, I believe. Certain states, as far as big screens. And with it being a long film, that limits the amount of showings they can have in a cinema. So there's all those factors, but I'm pleased that it was liked enough to get the second part because it deserves it. I think it's wonderful, absolutely beautiful.
In case you haven't noticed, by the way, Danny is a film buff like I am. It was a very good film. But yes,
let's stick to one subject. Let's stay in the subject that we're probably more knowledgeable about.
But I mean, you talk about fitness and people's short-term fixations. I mean, you see that crossing those two fields there, movies and popular media, and it comes to physiques. I mean, Dwayne Johnson is probably going to be one of the highest earning actors for years. He certainly has been for the last few years. And he has, I listened to some of his speeches like he talks to college teams, like American football. His attitude is, you will never outwork me.
Yeah, and he is a phenomenal. We're not going to comment on anything else he does, but he works hard, and he has done back when he was a professional footballer and then wrestler.
Yeah.
He's always put the work in.
Yeah,
He worked. I mean, you could say, well, there might be other stuff going on, maybe, but he's still in the gym 3 or 4 hours, or he's still he's
he lands somewhere. He's in the gym before he goes to the hotel to go to sleep.
As well as a filming schedule of 12 hours, and most of his films are very action orientated. So it's not just him and sitting down opposite someone acting like you and I are talking now. No, he's on his feet, jumping off shit and throwing stuff around and stuff. Yeah, I mean, physical every day.
At his age, he definitely isn't maintaining his physique just off chicken. But as you know, as is the thing that people do say, you can take all the whatever substances you may or may not want to. You still got to put the work in.
He does.
If it takes you 14 hours a week extra to look like you might want to in 6 months, you've got to show up for every one of those 14 hours. Otherwise, you won't look like it.
And you've got to work through a certain amount of pain. Yeah. I mean, we can mask it and call it muscular discomfort and all that, but you're going to have to work through some real uncomfortable places.
Oh, yeah. You're going to
and
be
that's
sore,
another thing that
tired.
people are not willing to do. Yes. As soon as it gets slightly uncomfortable, and I use that word carefully, uncomfortable, that's not even painful. That's just uncomfortable. They want to stop. Slightly hard work. This is paining me, or I'm feeling a little bit of a twinge.
I don't like sweating this much. I've heard that before.
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? 9, 10? As I've got to take you to hospital? Oh no, it's a 3 or 4. Then harden the second one, fuck up, and get through this work. You know, if you're genuinely in pain, we are going to stop this because that's not good. But if this is just difficult, come on, this is how you get results, right? This is how you get what you want in all levels of life, in all walks of life.
I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to Amazon and social media and everything. That's immediate gratification has ruined. It's actually generations of people, but it's never going to go away. This idea that whatever I want, I can find now. I can stream it. I can find it on my phone. I can order it same day delivery or next day delivery from most parts of the world. Why can't you fix this on me now, coach? Well, guess what? It took you 10 years or 15 years to look like you are now. It isn't going to be done overnight. And no 30-day program or 7-day detox is going to remedy this, because for a start, it's not being fixed. You're an ever-changing chassis of a human being. You're now going to have to reverse changes, emphasize changes that you want, reduce the ones you don't want. It's going to take time. Are you looking to make some changes to your quality of life? Perhaps you're looking to embrace a whole new approach to exercise, nutrition, and a healthier lifestyle, but you're just not sure how to even get started. Without a basic framework in place and some goals set, you're going to struggle, and that is the most common reason why a lot of people experience a load of stress and ultimately don't succeed in their endeavours. They just don't have a clear path to get them started and follow on with. That's why I wrote Pathway to Health, Be Your Own Life Coach. This is a program that takes you through your lifestyle approaches to nutrition, exercise and activities, shows you how to take stock of your life as it is right now, plan things out and get started on your unique personal pathway to health. You can find this course on my website, www.thebodyengineer.training, in the online store. The program comes with video guides throughout and all the downloadable planners you need to become your own life coach. Listeners to this podcast can get a 20% discount with the discount code POD20. Because we're not that fragile structure as a human being that a slight stimulus of stress causes massive change. If we did, you could never do anything. If it's a case of, picking up my rucksack that weighs 10 kilos gave me instant huge biceps, then moving would kill you because the stress on your spine or your heart would be too much.
You'd get, by the time you got out the front door, you'd be incapable of moving and your heart would give up.
Insane quads or whatever else. I walked downstairs and my legs just exploded. We're not that fragile, which is great for us because it means you grow up, your bone density increases, you get more athletic, and you can move.
We're designed to change under stress and stuff, but over small increments over a long period of time. Hence, you got to be in it for the long term, right? You got to continue to pick up your 10-kilogram rucksack every day without fail, even when it starts to get heavy. You continue to do that, and when it's not heavy anymore, make it 12 kilos. You've got to keep adding load to it, and
that's that change in stimulus.
And it comes to that thing again where we just spoke about, where when things get slightly uncomfortable, people will quit. So if a film gets a little bit too long, they don't want to watch it anymore. It's too much. And that's why YouTube videos and all that, they're all 4 or 5 minute snippets and that, because that's the intention of span. And it's awful. It's really sad. And unfortunately, it's bled into our industry. I mean, it's everywhere, but our industry, I think, and I feel, because it's the only one I'm kind of in, apart from the movie side as well, which I'm starting to see a little bit, is the one that seems to have suffered the most.
Yes. I mean, I don't consciously advertise anymore or even talk about that I'm qualified as a sports therapist.
Well, you just did.
Well, yeah.
You just did. We're going to bleep that out as well.
Outside of this, because apart from the clients that I talk to and I know, okay, right, I've got this issue with my whatever in my back that affects my posture, but I know I need to work with you as a therapist and do some work on my posterior chain to remedy this. It might take me a month, 2 months, whatever. Those people that have that conversation from the off, they're worth having as a client. But
For sure.
So many people that come to you, again, it's the same instant gratification thing. I've got this issue, fix it. But it doesn't work like that.
Well, or you say, yes, I can,
Yeah.
and it's going to be, like you just said, 4 to 6 weeks of continuous this. You need to do this at home and do this with me. And you need to also, I'm sure you mentioned, you need to also fix your sleep, drink more water, get your food right, because all this stuff is holistic. And it will help your healing process, wherever that is in the body. And that's when you then potentially get the, can we not just have an hour now? Can't you do some dry needling, or can't you readjust something? And you can go, well, like I could, but I'll be seeing you again in about 3 or 4 days with exactly the same problem again.
Or
do
you
you want
change
this?
your posture?
Yeah.
Are you going to change how you sit at work? No.
Not willing to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Are you going to spend the next night, every night of your life for the next 40 years, slumped like a crazy person, like forming almost a U, concave shape on the sofa?
Not willing to do that.
No. Okay, right. We're not going to change.
Yep. Can you drink more water? No, can't do it. I'm too busy at work. Do you drink water?
I drink coffee, but not water.
Okay, well, then by all means, I'll see you every 3 days for this. But like you just said, but they're not necessarily the clients that you want to invest the time in.
So,
for sure.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I don't push that as something I want to do for a living, because it becomes more stress than I want.
But I'm sure you offer it in the work you do. It's something that's bled in that you do
within my existing clients. I mean, one of the things I do with all prospective clients is I have like a sit-down chat in person. I don't like doing it on the phone, because you never get the conversations through email or text or over the phone that you get in person.
We're going to go there, but the online coaching stuff that happens since current events. But sorry, I interrupted you.
But yeah, I mean, you never get the honest approach, because I want to find out all about the client. But then I go through my own personalized assessment protocol I put together, which is nothing fantastical. And I'm not training pro athletes every day. It's a case of, 5 or 6 movements that are going to show me your sagittal, lateral, transverse movements. Can you engage posterior chain? Do you have full range of movement through your arms? Is your thoracic locked or mobile? Basically, over a few exercises. And on that feedback, that sets the stage for your first month of programming.
Right.
Do we have to go from a real base level, you need to move like a human being and build your range of motion and strength into it? Or is it a case of, a few tweaks we'll be aware of as part of our warm-up, we'll make sure we're thoroughly mobile with rehearsal movements before we start doing compound work. And apart from that, we can go straight into it. You know, because that's what you should be doing. I mean, again, we've talked before we started recording that the new to the industry, yet Insta experts will go, right, no, everybody from day one, within 5 minutes of working at the gym, can be doing squats and box jumps. And this, I saw it on CrossFit's YouTube, so everyone can do it.
And you're going to do 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions of all major muscle groups in this order.
Absolutely. And then you're going to go and you're going to...
Because that's what the book said.
Then you're going to go and clean and jerk your body weight, having never lifted a bar before in your life, as fast as possible, and wonder why you're broken afterwards. But
it was hard work, therefore it was beneficial.
Yeah, of course. Like you're dying and vomiting and you're bleeding from the eyes, but it's good for you, trust me. But we digress. I mean, we're going back great topics, but moving back to when you and I first met, let's say it's been over a decade. Ever since I've known you, your focus of how you teach, as far as I'm aware, but all your social media and the courses that you run and your
when I use social media, the once a fortnight I put something out. Go on.
Nearly everything that you do is based on body weight work, human movement, and I would say optimal biomechanics.
Yes.
I mean, and I'm
because you can say that. I'd probably have trouble saying that, but yes, you're right.
But I mean, I fully go the same as you, because if you can't move like a human being, you've got no business trying to do that with additional load. But is that a deliberate focus that you've always had, or is it something you've moved into?
No,
I know this is the value of it.
Yeah, it's not a deliberate focus. And one of the things that you and I were talking about quite extensively before you pressed record was the willingness to take on board to increase your knowledge, to learn new stuff, be open to new things, and to be humble enough to go, I was doing that and it was working to a point, but clearly it's not the best way of doing things. And one of the wonderful things about science is it's always trying to prove itself wrong. So those books that you and I read 20 years ago, at that time, that was the best possible understanding of the human body that we had. And therefore we applied it to our fitness qualifications, our personal training qualifications. And I was no different. I got that YMCA one, then got the actual personal trainer one. Because, believe it or not, people, it goes from gym instructor, where you actually went into a gym and cleaned machines and wrote basic programs of this is how you use a treadmill. And then you had to clean the machines and operate and clean the machines before you were allowed to be a personal trainer. It was a progression.
Everyone else who's qualified, experience.
And back in the day, now you can be a personal trainer in 4 to 6 weeks on a qualification on the back of a cereal packet. Yeah. But again, digress. But the point is that we're always learning. Sure. And so I was learning all the time. And actually, it coincides with what you mentioned about that first TRX STC, suspension trainer course. That was, I think it must have been at a point in my career where I had got as high as I could in that particular field, which at the time was group fitness with Les Mills.
Right.
I was a national trainer for Les Mills on 3 or 4 programs. And that was great. I loved it, enjoyed it, because I love music as well as I love movement. So I used to be a singer in bands. So, Les Mills was great. It's physical exercise. It's all really good, and it had great music. Right. Awesome. And I get to be on stage, as a singer in a band, being in front of people and being on show was not a problem. Sure. So that was great fun. But I got to a point where I'm not sure I don't feel it's really beneficial to keep doing these type of movements. As my knowledge increases about movements, everything in sagittal plane every single day, which body pump pretty much is, and then RPM, cycling, sagittal plane, it's triple flexion over and over and over again. Sure. And then, I can't be doing that all the time. That's not good. And therefore I shouldn't really be telling other people that that's what they should do. Body pump 3 to 4 times a week, RPM 2 to 3 times a week, mix it up, you'll be fit and healthy and wonderful. Yeah, but I see things down the line that we might be like, I might be referring people to Richard because they've got XYZ challenge. So when I'm going to miss a few steps, but when I first went to do the training to become a what we call a course instructor with TRX, I was fortunate enough to meet Fraser Quelch, who is someone that he's one of my best friends now. Absolutely, I've known him many years, and he's also been a great mentor and a great educator to me, and I've learned so much from him. I'm not going to put a number on it, but so much from him because he understood the movement side. TRX, even back then, when it was trying to sell the gear, we knew how good the gear was, but to get it in people's hands, we had to give exercises. To get people like your good self at that time, we know it's good for XYZ, sagittal, frontal, transverse. We know it does all this stuff, core activation. We know standing up is better than sitting down. But we also know that people want to know, what are the exercises? So back in that early day, it was all about show as many exercises as we could. But underneath that, and I'm not sure you were aware because it wasn't part of our programming, although we did touch on it. Do you remember we did the choose 12 exercises and then full body? So give me a full body workout, bicep curls, tricep press, squats, lunges, and then we broke it down into planes of movement. And it was always dominant. Out of 12 was always 8 to 10 sagittal plane. If you're lucky, you got a transverse, but it was more out of luck than it was them thinking about it. It was bench press as the transverse plane in the shoulder joint, but they were thinking it was pushing something. But it was, if you're going to narrow grip, it might change. Anyway, and so we always had that. But it was that got me thinking there's more to exercise than just muscles. That's pretty much where it comes from. So we talked about the biomechanics stuff, but to me it was about movement. It should be better quality of movement, not training muscles. Then it was, I really am now feeling a lot better. I'm feeling less stiff in my back. I'm actually feeling, for want of a better word, to give it a one-word answer, fitter. Now we can analyse what fitness means. It depends on your goals and stuff. But I was fitter. I felt healthier. I felt I was moving with less pain. And slowly that started to make a lot more sense to me. And as I got more involved with TRX and I saw what they were looking for as their company progressed, it's a movement company that sells equipment, but on the outside, it's an equipment company. Sure, you've seen it. It's gear, right? But the underlying passion behind it was getting people to move better. Right. So all the people that work behind the scenes on the education, that was their goal. Sure. But their ego is not so that they then said, that's what we're going to do, and the people will buy it. Because we know they won't. We need to give them what they need, but also show them give them what they want, I should say, and then also give them what they need, which is an understanding of movement, how to move better. This is how the gear does that better. And then along came ZUU. I met Nathan many years ago in the UK at one of those fitness conventions, whatever they're called back then. And he was all about movement, body weight movement, being on your hands and feet, getting in contact with the ground, barefoot, hands down, get in contact with earth, for all the good stuff that comes from. But being able to get your body to move, no matter your age, no matter your limitations, no matter your physical challenges. But here's the key, Rich. What he then got me to really engage with is the mental mindset that comes with that.
Right, yeah.
The real number 3 coming up, harden the fuck up stuff. It's that you have got to push through and willing to push through what is uncomfortable.
Sure.
Now, you and I won't speak for you, but I've still got both my parents.
Right.
But I'd get my
as well,
dad,
yeah.
and my dad does frog squats and bear crawls.
Right.
He's had a hip operation, he's had some heart challenges, but it's like, well, you can't get him to do that. I said, hold on. He's not doing bear crawls like I am.
Yeah.
He's not running up and down and then changing it with kick sits and all this other stuff and all these other ZUU movements that
Sure.
are real high intensity stuff. You know, I'm breathing out of every orifice in my body.
Yeah.
It's hard work. I'm not getting him to do that,
No.
but I am getting him to make it hard work for him.
Yeah.
So a bear crawl could be on the knees, what we call a bubba crawl.
Right.
So it's hands, knees, and feet. Because I want my dad, for example, to be able to have the strength and to support his own body weight on his hands, on his wrists, shall we say, and his shoulders to, God forbid, not there is one, but anyway, to, if an accident happens, to be able to get to a telephone, to get to help, and not just be completely useless on the floor.
Absolutely.
So a long answer there, Rich, but what it meant was that movement became key, movement without pain, but also the mental toughness to get through really hard things in the physical exercise world, because that builds mental resilience to face the other hardships in life, because life is really hard. So when you can push yourself through something physically demanding, like 5 minutes of bear crawls as an example, and not drop to your knees and be in pain and let the tears flow and let the shout and scream if necessary, because that's just emotions coming out, it's great. Then when something
Really
nondescript happens, or
Yeah.
no, I was going to say nondescript, like you get stuck.
sorry,
No, you're right, you're absolutely right,
Yeah.
but to jump a step, when you get stuck in traffic, it's not the end of the world.
No, exactly.
You can control your emotions better. But like you just said, but then the other end of the spectrum, when something really unfortunate happens, and it's going to happen to us as we grow older, it's not going to say it's not going to be tough. It's not going to say it's not going to be, it's going to get through it easy. But you have the mental resilience to get through it quicker, and maybe with less negative detriment to those around you, and maybe to yourself with other choices that you make. And so it really came down to movement rather than muscles, mental resilience as well as physical resilience and physical strength and physical fitness. And the other one is moving without pain. And those things were what guide me now. And so when I have clients come, that's what I want them to look at, not the aesthetics. So long answer there, buddy.
Yeah, no,
but there you go.
that was exactly what I was looking for. I mean, you should make that some kind of long speech on our website.
Well, it would be a long elevator speech,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
yeah.
It'd be the Burj Khalifa elevator speech. We're going to go 0 to 900.
No, I mean, we come back to the movement thing, but going back to that course that I did and you were the instructor, you were being cursed the next day because I bumped into two of the trainers that I knew.
That happens every day to me, mate.
But I bumped into two of the trainers.
Probably the day after this podcast will be cursed.
Yeah.
He ruined it because
But,
he said F 3 times.
But the two of the trainers that were also there, I knew, and I saw them the next day. And towards the end of the morning, because it was a whole day course, you put us through, I think it was like 8 or 9 minutes, but it was a different exercise every 45 seconds.
Okay, yep.
Right, upper body level.
Yeah, we did a little workout.
Yeah,
gotcha,
exactly.
yeah.
I know you said we're doing it now because you'll be too fucked to do it this afternoon.
That's number 4, and it wasn't me.
Yeah, that's true. Right. So we did that. This was 8 or 9 minutes, but changing the intensity of everything, different exercise every 45 seconds for that long. Now, looking at the numbers, that doesn't seem that long. But when you're doing body weight based, and let's say and we weren't just doing quote unquote the easy exercises.
Sure. Yep.
You had us doing plyometric single leg squats.
Yep. Tommy push-ups. All
this kind of stuff that I'd sort of touched on before, but never into like that in that particular guys unit exercise. And I bumped into two of the guys the next day, and they were like, "Are you really struggling? Like, everything hurts, or places that shouldn't hurt really do." They were like, "Okay." I mean, that was when I knew then that I'd taken my knowledge of bodyweight movement using a TRX to a level I didn't know beforehand, because I'd owned one for a while. I literally bought one.
A lot of people did. Yeah, they were around.
I bought one because I want to have one. It's really versatile, really useful. But prior to that, I was doing a lot of the exercises that you can do with a TRX in a gym with 2 towels or a
Yep.
skateboard.
Yep.
And I used to get some fucking weird. Next one, right?
Catching me up now.
Yeah. I used to get some real interesting looks. Going, what on earth is he doing?
Yeah.
But then you'd have a few of the trainers that I knew working the same gym would say, if you knew how he was training, you wouldn't ask the question.
Yeah.
So I remember I did a very short spell of mentoring a South African personal trainer who'd moved to Dubai at the time. And he was like, okay, I've got to spend all day on the gym floor to try and find new clients or get known. That's how you start off.
Yeah.
But he's like, you make it really hard, because I walk around trying to talk to people. And I go, as soon as I see them doing X, Y, and Z, I go, you've already spoke to Richard. I can't try and convince you to come and speak to me, because I'm asking him to teach me when I've got a free moment. And there's no way that you're going to pay me when you're paying him.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I don't mind doing that, because that's advancing your knowledge. That's why I love doing what I do.
Well, good for him and good for you.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I said that, I was like, okay, that's why I've got into the TRX, because I can do these kind of rows using 2 towels in the gym around a squat rack, and I can do this with a skateboard. I can do all this. And then you taught me the TRX stuff, and I was at the back of that course at no inconsiderable expense. I went and bought 5.
Good for you. Yeah.
Because at the time I had the monopoly for group exercise classes in actually this part of Dubai. So I was doing 2 or 3 classes a day, and I was the only one, rather than just doing, we'll do some push-ups and squats. I rocked up and I'm going, right, okay, we're going to do it in this part of the park, so I can put 5 TRXs off the fence.
You mean outdoors?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's another part of the discussion about nature.
These 5 TRXs around a tree in the fence of the tennis court, and I've got, half a dozen sandbags, and I've got these dumbbells and these kettlebells. And very quickly people were like, okay, this is actually productive.
Yeah.
He's not coming up here to just thrash me.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a case of movement to feel better.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because one of the things that we've done with TRX, and I've been very fortunate now to be involved in the education department about developing the new courses, is it's not just how to do an exercise that you might see, but how to do it better. That whole core engagement, the whole shoulders back and down, the scapular depression to make sure you're actually pulling through the back muscles and not your forearms and your biceps. So what looks like a row, okay, that works my muscles in my back. Well, yeah, but there's other ways of doing it that make it better. So, more is not better. Faster is not better. More elaborate is not better. Better is better.
Correct.
So let's do a plank better. You were talking about strengthening the core, so there's a difference between just lifting your ass off the ground with your forearms on the ground. Now we're going to have the hands apart, we're going to have the shoulders back and down, we're going to have engagement of quads, glutes, abs, lats, head position right, and you're going to squeeze every single muscle I just mentioned as hard as you can. And then suddenly they can't do the plank for 72 minutes. It's a 20, 15-second plank.
Like, this is so tiring.
It's good. And the reason we're not doing it for more than 15 seconds is because of spinal compression on your spine when the disc is pressed with the spine. That's why we don't do it for more than 15 seconds. So with that in mind, coming from Stuart McGill's study of the back, the leader in this shit, was why we make it really hard for 10 to 15 seconds. And the way to make it really hard is to do everything I just said. So what we tried to do with the TRX stuff is, okay, you're going to do a row, you're going to do a push, you're going to do a chest press, but here's how we're going to make it better for you. And when good trainers like you understand that concept, they know why they're doing this exercise and why potentially it's better than a dumbbell press. Not necessarily a muscular hypertrophy. That's a different thing. That's a thing in itself. But if we can teach good movement with the body, good, solid, excellent movement, then you're ready to go and lift heavy shit. You've got to learn the basics. And that's where it comes down to, right? And that's what we hope to do with the straps.
I mean, I wish that was embraced by a lot more people throughout their life, not just I'm going into exercise. I mean, a good example of that is when I moved to Riyadh for 18 months, or in and out of Riyadh and Jeddah. Some of my clients.
You said Riyadh, not rehab, right?
It was Riyadh. No, I stressed a lot, but not that much. But when I went to live in Riyadh, some of my clients were some very, shall we say, high-to-do families. Very like VIP level. And despite what everyone thinks about cultural divides and everything else, on a one-on-one basis, women in Saudi Arabia were not afraid to talk to me within the environment of, it's like, you're a professional, I want to be your client, and I'm going to work with them in the family home and everything else. And I was working with one family. I got to work with the grandmother, the mother, and the youngest daughter. So 21, mid-50s, late 50s, and Haiti.
Nice.
Right? And the mother of the family, the matriarch, very much the matriarch, because
This is the grandmother you were talking about. Was she still
No,
the
no,
main
this
child?
is the mother, not the
okay.
grandmother, because that was just very, very basic, like tissue work. And but the mother in her late 50s, right? She ran the entire family household. That's a compound. This is like 5 houses in the space above the underground garage.
Yeah, this is
all
not
the
just a
staff.
2-bedroom house.
She had a more than a full-time job. She had 7 children, right? And she fell into that same kind of mindset as a lot of women in the West do, which is, I think I want to get healthier, which must mean I need to eat less and live on a treadmill.
Yep.
And no one, regardless of the advice she could ever find and seek out, it said to her, well, let's make you strong within your own right. Let's improve your movement. And so all I did to her for the first month of working with her, and 2 of those first 4 weeks were during Ramadan, and for whatever the restrictions and changes in lifestyle are for us in Dubai, it's a full-on experience. Saudi Arabia, like the lifestyle changes because you're now doing everything later in the day, and you've got the no eating and drinking during the hours of fasting. So you accommodate training with that. All we did for the first month, and I said to her, we're not touching weights, and you're not going to go near a treadmill. You can do that by yourself. You're not paying me for that. Is right. We're going to show you your thoracic spine can move. We're going to get your hips to function correctly. I'm going to get you doing a lot of stuff on the ground, lying, because take away the element of take away the element of loss of balance, which is the whole fight or flight, parasympathetic. I'm in fear, so I'm not going to try it correctly because I might fall over. So lying down, I had her doing like scorpion kick rolls to get transverse slings activated, all that kind of stuff. She lost 3 pounds in a month.
One of my favourite warm-ups.
We never exercise, quote unquote,
as the traditional sense
exactly.
she would say.
Right.
One of my favourite warm-ups is just to get people to lay down on the ground, face the sky, and get up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we do some whatever amount of rep time, whatever. And then next time we do it, now you're going to face down. Now get up. Well, how do you want to get up? Don't care. Get up on your feet. Don't care how you do it.
Well,
and the whole body's getting mobile. They're lifting up and say, right now, you want to work out? Do that for 10 minutes.
Sure.
Well, that'll be 3 minutes in. They are wiped out. I say, no, but you got no problem going and do burpees and all that stuff for 45 minutes.
Biceps twice a week.
And lifting dumbbells and barbells and stuff, which you're not quite ready to do. But when I tell you just to lay down and get up, 10 minutes in a row, it's fascinating. And that's all the body needs to be able to do.
I mean, a few years back, I did one of Dr. Perry Nicholson's courses.
Oh, I love that guy. I'm glad you mentioned him. He's
Stop
wonderful.
Chasing Pain is his brand. And I flew back from Riyadh to do it here. And I think it was 20 or 30 people in the course. So you've got people who live in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, people who've flown in from Kuwait.
For sure.
There were 2 girls here that flew in from the UK.
I wish I'd known about him and what he did then, because I would have done it. Absolutely.
I knew at that point what I knew then. I mean, it's probably 4 years ago now. But I know a lot more from that point and since.
You didn't know what you didn't know at that point.
Exactly. But one thing that I sort of knew was going to happen, but I hadn't experienced it for a few years, was a room full of all the spectrum of coaches and trainers and everything else. When they get challenged out of their own field of preference, not skill set, it's preference. I mean, if you say, for example, 100 personal trainers do the exact same personal training qualification and revisit them 2 years later, where they would have narrowed their focus to what they like doing.
Yeah, for sure.
They won't have kept their scope of skill set broad because they're going to have all different kinds of clients. It's, I like doing this.
And therefore, so will you.
You
will get it, whether you like it or not.
But this will be my limitations of my own physicality. Movement, mobility, strength, recovery. When CrossFit had its heyday, because I don't care what everyone says now, it doesn't have it anymore. I knew some really
statements here on the podcast this afternoon, today.
I knew some very, very qualified, competent, aware personal trainers and coaches that threw themselves into that to be part of the thing. That you saw their physical changes, massive quad development because it's so centric to the movements that they do and everything else, and they're just thrashing themselves, going, "How much can you do this and how fast?" and the rest of it. None of them, by the way, do it now because they've seen the light, as it were. But
or potentially maybe they can't.
Yeah, well, that was my
parts
next
of their
point.
body are slightly injured.
Yeah, because all of a sudden, and I know people are going to argue, not everyone gets broken doing CrossFit, whatever. But not everyone gets broken crossing the road, but some do get run over. It's a case of, right, hang on, you could move better than that a year ago. All right, you can do more clean and jerks faster than you used to be able to. But you and I both know your thoracic spine's screwed. Your shoulder mobility is knackered because of the high repetitions you've been doing at weight, and you haven't thought about your own rehab and scap movement. Like, no, it's all about hardcore extreme. Right. Why have I now got you as a rehab client? Because if
it was so good for you.
Exactly.
It's I guess then I won't speak for you obviously, but I was not lucky, but I discovered that early enough so it didn't have the knock-on effects. I had that epiphany, or I was fortunate enough to be exposed to another way of thinking that I hadn't been exposed to at that point, and certainly not by someone that was able to articulate it, express it, and show it in a way that made me actually give a shit about it.
Sure.
And so that being able to move longevity, to be able to do the things I enjoy now, I'm nearly 50 now,
Right.
and I like the ability or the opportunity to say yes to anything, and not to say no because this is hurt, or this I have a problem here and stuff. So I mean, I did it quite recently. Case in point, I'd started doing some trail running again before I could get back to exercising and workouts on the beach. Friday mornings there was these trail runs.
Yeah.
I hadn't run for ages, but I like cross country running, as we discussed at the beginning. So I'll go and do that. And it was it's a 5 to 10. I'll do the 5. And we started the 5, and I felt tired. I said, I want to do the 10. So I did the 10, and it turned up in doing 18. Now, don't get me wrong, listeners. It hurt the next day.
I know where you're going.
I struggled the next day. But the fact that I could just say, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. Why not? I had my cross-country Vivos and just went out and did it.
Sure.
I wasn't thinking, I don't think I can because this hurts, that hurts. What about this, that? No, it's like, no, go and do it. You say you want to go kayaking tomorrow. Absolutely. I don't have a shoulder problem, so I touch wood. So I can go kayaking. You want to go and climb a mountain? Never climbed one before? Yes, I'll try it.
Yeah.
I'll do anything. And the opportunities that you have as a human to physically move in as many, and Perry Nichols would say this, in as many environments as you can.
Sure.
Move often, move well, and move in different environments, as much of your body as you can, is opens up your world so much more than being restrictive to just doing squats, cleans, and presses.
Yeah.
And although you might look good aesthetically, it's not sustainable, really. And then later on in life, when you want to play, let's say you mentioned earlier, you want to play football with your kids.
Yeah.
You want to play rugby with your kids. You want to teach them how to throw a ball. You want to be able to do that for 40 minutes or be out of breath after 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
So, and so for me, the opportunities that life gives you to move your body, that means that I just want to move like that all the time now. If there's anything aesthetic that happens as well, because I'm also eating well and sleeping and water,
That's
and
secondary benefit.
it's all that good stuff, then great.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if someone says, do you want to do X tomorrow? I want to be able to go, yes.
Sure.
And not have to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, this next point then is going to feed into the next point, but I found it seems, I mean, I'm 40 and I've been in this, like I say, this field for
You said we were the same age.
Yeah, I know. Right? Literally, this is just stress on my part. But I mean, I've had I would say, a more active life than most. Not than everybody, but I mean, between my youth with my family and school, and then higher education, and then the military, and then the last 15 years, I see it in ever younger generations where people, either through poor activity or bad activity or poor choices, soon younger and younger get to the point where they don't, like you just said there, which is exactly how I think everyone should be. I want to be able to have the longevity way into my later years of capable pain-free movement.
Yep.
Instead, the attitude is they identify as a problem. When I was in Saudi, I said this to one of the guys I trained. I said, right, you're not coming to me as a guy who's in their mid-30s who wants to lose a lot of the excess body fat you had to lose. You came in through the door and said to me, hi, I'm Mohammed, I've got back problems. You already have, I have an issue, therefore my barrier to being healthy.
How sad that it's, I am, forgive me mention his name, but I am Mohammed, I've got back problems. It's like that identifies him as a person.
Exactly,
I am Mohammed and I have a back problem. Well, you're not Mohammed used to play golf or
go
skiing or something.
I love football.
I
mean, you see it here as well. You know, I had a couple of clients. There was a point some years back where I had 2 of the 4 executive level members of the same bank in Dubai came to me as clients. One had a hernia and was post-surgery to get him in shape and build a great degree of core strength because he needed to. And one was on the cusp of having surgery, and his surgeon said to him, if you can build yourself up any stronger before you have the surgery, your recovery will be easier. That was basically, so turns out they were both friends. I didn't know that beforehand because they worked for the same bank. They were like, everyone we know in our job is very, very similar to us because they've finished school, gone to university, gone from university into the lower levels of finance, and short of maybe falling around a rugby pitch with a 20-year reunion, they do nothing physically and their body just degrades over time to the point where their internal organs rupture through their abdominal wall. again, so they get to the point there.
Even their own body's trying to get
exactly,
out.
Yeah, they get to the point where they're in the mid-40s. These two guys, one was Dutch, one was Egyptian, going, again, this is my name, I've got hernia. I've got weak abdominals. Like, no, you're this guy with two kids and a wife and a huge salary.
Yeah.
This is a problem we can address through improving your quality of life. One of those two got sent to me by his wife because she goes, I train with you, and I'm sick of this bullshit. Yeah. He can come see you, all this waffle. And she fell about laughing because when I saw her after that, because she was like, he told me what you said to him. And she said, the fact that it didn't come from me hit home so much. Yeah. That's why he phoned you up and said, right, I'm in, can we start next week?
Yeah. I mean, that's great. It's you could argue that it's sad that it took him, her, or general people, something like that makes them want to make a positive change. But let's, because we've been fairly negative up to this point. The positive side is that he recognised it and he wanted to come and change. And then hopefully you change that mindset to you are Mohammed and you are this. You're not defined by your injury. Because hopefully, and it's a temporary condition you have, not this is my life from now on. And it is frustrating for me a little bit that we see it, we've learned these lessons. We know all this stuff that person, those people would have said to the other people around them, and yet not all of them were looking for change. They were still thinking that chasing that dollar or chasing that watch or chasing that car or chasing whatever it is, physical, external, what's the word I'm looking for here? Things, shiny things. They're chasing shiny things that, as we know, you can't take with you.
No, sure.
Is negatively affecting your health. And your health is the only thing that you actually really need. And it's it's easy to do. It's not simple. It's simple to look after your health. It's not easy, as we discussed earlier. You've got to be willing to do the hard things. But it's relatively simple to fix this stuff. And then your quality of life. I'm sure a lot of those people you talked about had kids, right? Do they, speaking broadly, do they want to physically partake in activities with their kids, whether it's throw a rugby ball or go to the tennis and watch the swim or go and play with them in the park? I'm sure they do. Do they get a little bit morbid now, do they want to see their kids grow up? And then their grandkids? Or do they want to be, touch wood, horrible thing to say, dead?
Before
and miss all that. But you had a nice car in the garage, or you had a nice watch or two, because your job defined you, what you owned defined you, and not your health. And it's really frustrating. Because we know so much, and we know that this stuff is good for us, but we're ignoring it.
You and I have
not you and I.
You and I have the benefit of being straight talking, which the people that value our coaching and our opinion appreciate. Some people find shocking, and a lot of people can't deal with.
But that's fine. Then walk on.
Exactly.
That's fine. If you're offended, that's not my fault. Go away.
I think a large part of the mindset that people have that don't look out for their own best interests, or even consider that they should now, is one of those I'll get to it later kind of attitudes. Is it comes down to their hierarchy of values. What's important to you, not just now, but like I said, 5 years, 10 years, when your kids are able to do stuff with you and interact. Like, Daddy would love to play with you, but guess what? I sat my ass since university, and my knees are gone. My blood pressure won't let me because I've drunk every night for the last 15 years. Or you go, right, but what's your personal hierarchy of values? What are your things you consider important? Even if you're a single person without the family to think about, it's like, guess what? I don't want to be on medication for type 2 diabetes before I'm 40 because I've just binge drank and been a dick for 15 years. But I mean, also the other side of that is, why do you not care about yourself? Why are you waiting to have that conversation with the doctor before you go, oh shit, I could have fixed this, or at least addressed it.
You and I would like to think it's never too late, but sometimes it kind of is. Certainly your life is not over, but you've now limited things. I mean, I was just thinking, as you were talking about then about interacting with your kids and stuff, don't ask me why this popped into my head, but interacting with your kids. So we're not talking about necessarily you going and playing 90 minutes with your son on the rugby pitch. 80. But you go to a water park, and there's no lift to the top of the slide. You have to walk up the stairs. So you want to go with your kids, but if you're struggling to get up those stairs because, as you said, because your knees are shot, or you just get out of breath walking one flight, your kids now miss that opportunity of going down the slide with mummy or daddy or whatever, and that's really sucks because you've got time to with your kids now, and you can't because why? Because you, like you just said, you made those choices early on, and you weren't balancing your life well enough. It was, I need to provide for my kids financially, when ultimately the kids also need time.
Yeah.
They need physical contact, connection, cuddles, memories, not financial support.
And they also
it's
need
important, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
You need to do that, but there's a balance there. I'm sure most kids would rather have mummy and daddy around and happy and healthy to stay with them and play with them than really having just because there's a TV in front of me, a bigger TV screen, which is why you've got to stay at the office for another 3 hours. That's not important.
But as much as they want, like you said, mum and dad around, they also need, not want, but they need the example.
Absolutely,
They need the case of, hey, guess what? I grew up and I behave like this when it comes to food and exercise and how I look after myself because I'm now 25. I grew up in a household where my mum or dad or both lived like this.
Yep.
I learned from my parents. You know what? I'm not spending all of my school holidays sat on my ass watching TV.
How many parents do you think, Rich, know right now, listening to this podcast, or in our world right now, know that too much sugar is bad for you?
All of them.
All of them. And yet, what they buy and give to their kids is that shit.
Yeah.
And it's almost like if you and I had a dog and we love dogs, if we saw a fat dog, we would say, well, that dog doesn't learn how to open the fridge and feed itself. You've fed that dog. That is abuse to that dog. And the RSPCA, where we come from in the UK, would come round and have questions.
Sure. I mean, you can be jailed if you're a farmer for mass neglect of your animals.
Right. And yet you think you feel, general term, but a lot of people sadly feel that it's okay to give their kids sugar. Why? Oh, because it's easier.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Set your alarm earlier. Go to bed earlier. Get up and cook them as something nutritious for breakfast. Because if you know it's bad and you're giving it to your kids, what does that say about you? Oh, I want my kids to have everything. So you're going to work 50 hours a day so they don't have connection. They don't have fun times with you. And then you're too tired or you can't be bothered and you just give them crap. It's like, well, you really are not giving them what they really want, which is time with you.
I wrote...
as well as a healthy example, like you said, which is why I mentioned that, as an example of this is why we're going to eat this.
I wrote this for a blog post ages ago. I'll write more of them. But why is it that, and I've seen this all around the world, so it's not purely a Western European or British thing. Why is it you can go into a pub or whatever genre of restaurant and the menu can be fantastic and varied and you've got vegetarian options, you've got seafood options, you've got steak and you've got barbecue. What do the kid menus look like?
Chicken nuggets and chips.
There we go. Chicken nuggets, chips, pizza. It's fried. It's quick for the kitchen because they can't really be
nutritionally empty, high in processed, ultra processed stuff.
Because to my mind, that all sits under the banner of shut up and eat. We'd all like to be a bit healthier, but sometimes it's just hard getting the right ingredients in or knowing what meals to make in the time frame that you've got. So I put together 4 unique books available on my website right now that can help you make all those decisions, have the best nutritional start to your day, and start to make some real impact in improving your quality of life. Okay, so if you go to my website, www.thebodyengineer.training, and go to the online store, there are 4 books there for you right now. There is the 52 high protein recipes, quick and easy 5 ingredient recipes. That's a fantastic good starter book if you're trying to improve your meals. Your go-to vegan recipe book and the keto guide, okay? All available for $14.99. Listeners to this podcast get a discount if you use the code POD20.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so
this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what you're going to get.
So why is it you like if you were to go to a family barbecue, your kids would have a smaller version of what you have.
Yep.
Right? So why is it when you go to pay a lot more at a restaurant,
you can't have a smaller version of what you've had?
Okay, so right, you know what? I'm going to sit here. I'm going to have salmon. I'm going to have this. My wife's going to have that. And guess what? You're having whatever overpriced.
Well, which one of those 2 things that mummy and daddy are having would you like to have? Yeah.
It's like, no, you're going to have whatever they're called in this language, chips.
Yep.
You know,
or a burger.
Yeah, exactly.
And it won't even be should we say, a decent burger. It'll be some ultra-processed slab of mystery meat stuck between 2 ultra-processed, emulsified pieces of apparently used to be have wheat in it, bread, and some plastic cheese that literally came out of plastic, looks like plastic, tastes like plastic, and that's your burger.
Yeah, but that's a cultural thing because there's no reason that should be the case.
Because we know, right? We know that you've got to eat better, avoid I'd say, most people know avoid processed foods.
Sure.
But everybody knows that sugar's bad for you. You've got to drink more water and you've got to sleep a bit better. Yeah. And yet all these things people tend to ignore, even though they are relatively simple to do.
Yeah.
And yet you're then told a certain thing with current situations, current, I forget what we said we were going to call it.
Post-recent events.
Post-recent events. I'm going to do that. I have to wear that. Sure. And it for me personally, it's been one of those things that's been ultra frustrating right now. Because eating healthily, it's good for you. You've ignored it.
Sure.
smoking and drinking excessively, but drinking excessively is bad for you. Smoking has no benefit. You're not going to win that one.
Yeah.
Is bad for you. Don't do it, but you still do it. Exercise is good for you. You know you need to exercise. It's good for you, but you don't do it. You've got to drink more water. You know that, but you don't do it. Get outdoors more in the sunlight, outdoors, daylight, vitamin E, but you don't do it.
Sure.
You don't do these things, and you wonder why you're sick now.
Sure.
And you're told to do one thing, and you do it, and people like myself are now, well, you're holding back the train. So I've never made the NHS or the health companies here in Dubai, touch wood, in 20 years. I've never set foot in one of those places. No. I do take drugs. They're called ibuprofen, and it's normally after Liverpool have won a football match or something. But that's it.
Yeah.
I don't put a stress or a strain, and I look after it. And anything that does come along, I generally speaking, post events, get rid of it fairly quickly. And I try to express that lifestyle. You know, all these things are good for you, and you've ignored it, and now you get all upset about one thing.
Yeah.
So please, people, try to do these things because they're relatively simple.
It's one of the, and I've got two.
You'll be healthier, and you won't be as affected by things.
We've covered two things I want to elaborate in the last 5 minutes, and in the previous 5 minutes, not last. We can talk for ages. But what you've just seen, I've used a variation of what that example you just given before to people to go, right, however you live your lifestyle now, like you said, stress, don't eat well, don't sleep enough, don't drink water. You do better on vacation.
Yeah.
Because you will know, guess what? You'll go to bed and you'll sleep.
Yeah.
You'll wake up and go, do you know what? I either don't fancy breakfast right now, or I have a later breakfast, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then you're going to walk about. You're going to explore. You're not going to be a slave to your watch or your phone.
Yeah.
You're going to have a good meal because you're going to take your time to eat it. And you're going to relax into the evening, and you're going to go to bed, and you're going to repeat.
Yeah.
So, and I've said this to so many people, why can't you transfer that into your normal life?
Yeah.
Don't sit at home and watch TV with your phone now.
Make that the normal, not the extreme or whatever it is.
And then go stay in front of a screen at the last minute, and then go to bed later than you know you should have done. So you've already cut your sleep down, and then you go, you know what, I'm not going to switch off. My brain's still thinking about the last thing I read on social media. That already cuts down into sleep some more, and you wake up already knackered. And
but I don't have time to exercise or eat healthily.
Yeah, exactly.
But you've got 6.5 hours in front of a screen all day.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I shocked someone crazily a few months ago because I asked them to turn on their iPhone and got them to show me the screen usage.
Yeah.
Right.
Go on, how many hours?
I can't remember what it was now, but it was horrific. It was right, your phone's going to show me how many hours a day and total week you've been fiddling on your phone. And even better, it will tell me what you've been doing.
Yeah, what apps.
Yeah, exactly that.
So they're not all, shall we say, email, word processed documents.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure you're about to tell me that certain social media ones were the higher amount of usage.
Like,
and yet that amount of time can't find for meal prep, drink water, get outdoors, meet friends, meet family, put the phones down, get community, exercise.
Sure.
Can't find time for that, but you've got 3 hours every day on Instagram.
You spend 2 hours watching random links through on YouTube, going down one of those rabbit holes where you started off watching highlights of the Grand Prix. You ended up watching people fall over in the park.
And there's a reason why YouTube does the go straight into play next. It knows what you like and it play it next instantly. So you're hooked onto that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
The Instagram algorithms are there. You, if someone likes your post, that gives you a little spark of
like,
the chemicals
awesome,
in your brain.
great, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure we don't want to get into the neuroscience of it now, but neuroplasticity is a thing. And the more our behaviours change our brain, and our brain then affects our brain. And that stuff happens. So put your damn phones away.
Yeah.
I've very recently, just on the tech side of it, and again, it's one of those things that I wish I'd done sooner. I don't have screens in the bedroom.
No, I know.
The phone is on charge now. I bought an old, annoying, loud alarm clock, which is on the other side of the room.
So you've got to get up.
I've got to get up to turn it off, and then I get up, I have a shower, do all the morning stuff, and then it's not till I've come downstairs, made my coffee, that is the first thing that gets done, pack my bag and stuff, will I then turn on the phone. Yeah. And that, you're probably the same, is just to check that the client hasn't cancelled. Yeah. Because it's a bit annoying, but now I'm up. But here's the thing, I'm up. Yeah. I'm awake. So what do? I'll walk the dog. I'll be active. I'll do this. I'll train myself now. Sure. And the screens are such a bad thing. I might read a physical book. And that might be 3 or 4 pages before I'm done. Like or it might be, or it's a book that is engaging my brain on that subject and not wander into the nastiness of the world.
I've realised in the last few years, and it frustrates my wife to no small amount, that
I'm sure there's more than one thing. I'll speak to Luce about it.
But, I mean, I like reading as like a step to my winding down when I go to bed. But I know now, maybe it's something I've got. It always used to be fiction. Yep. And then I merged into like professionally relevant books and Bartlett biographies and histories and everything else, I now, for the most part, need to censor the topics I cover when I go to bed. Read, because if my brain gets locked into what I'm reading, I go the opposite way.
Oh, okay.
I don't wind down. I spool up.
You start spool up again.
Like I'm not kidding you. Over the whole, I could show you on my iPad, on the Kindle app thing. Over the course of COVID, I read every Stephen Leather novel, every Damian Lewis novel,
Backstreet Boys reunion.
During the era, yeah. But over the course of the last 12, 14 months, I've read well over 100 books.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I got to a few that was like relevant to something I was really interested at the time. It came into like psychology, this, and believe it or not, economic models that I was looking at influencing human.
Well, I'm asleep already, and you're just talking about it. Yeah.
The thing is, that was gearing my brain up. So I'm not reading that daylight only, but just a few times I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to go to sleep now. I started reading. One of them was, I've never met the guy, but I messaged him after I read it, and he actually messaged me back in person. He's done it a few times since. Brian Wood, who was the subject, he's a British soldier who got awarded a medal for bravery in Iraq, or it was Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And on returning, he got awarded his medal, and all well and good. And about a year later, it was made into a TV movie. He was the subject of a lawyer and his firm in London, who was pushing. This guy started off as a human rights lawyer,
right,
and he realised there was more money to be made making fraudulent cases of human rights.
I think I heard something about this.
Yeah.
I mean, another thing I do is I avoid the news. Because 90%, a big percentage of it is not real, and it also increases stress hormones and stuff, which I don't want. But I do remember this story.
So he's got a brand of it's just like military awareness thing. He's got a company called Keep Attacking, which is like t-shirts and that kind of stuff now, and like talking. But I read his book, and I started reading it at about 10 o'clock, and I got into it. I was like, oh shit, I know what's going to happen now.
Yeah.
I read it cover to cover in one night, and before I knew it, it was 4 a.m. I'm getting up in an hour. Shit.
Did you get up anyway?
Oh yeah,
and just get on with it
anyway.
anyway.
I was like, screw it, I'll go next door and leave my wife asleep. But I sent him a message going, right, I just read your book, blah blah blah, and rest of it. And he actually messaged me back the next day.
Good.
So I was like, that kind of thing. I know going back to the reason I said that, like my behaviour. I know for me, that's now not a good thing. Yeah. I can't read books that will up my, being ex-military.
Yeah.
That wasn't just a casual read for me. The more I got into it, the more my brain geared up to take in what I was reading.
Yeah, so what you've done there is, what you've shown me there is that you're aware of your behaviour, and because of your mindset as it is, as you are now, you're aware of your behaviour, but you're also in the mindset of changing that behaviour, knowing you have to change it. So whether it's now reading a different type of book or a different kind of wind down, or you don't read in bed, you read somewhere else and then you go to bed, something like that you change. So, I mean, that is a step along, that is a process along the way, and certain people everybody needs to recognise that first. Recognising you have a problem, for want of a better case, is that, but then willing to take the step to change it. So it goes, and that the comment you said there about the guy messaging messaging you back. That's one of the positive things about social media.
Yes, absolutely.
Because now you can actually reach out to someone with a comment, question, or something, and they can reach out to you in response. That's the good thing.
Yeah.
What the negative side is that now you're but you're looking now at that post or whatever it was to see if he's constantly, everyone else liked it. But that's a great thing. You were able to reach out to someone that normally you would never have contact with. You wouldn't have what did we have as kids? We had someone's telephone number, if we were lucky.
And you had to stand in the living room with all the family and talk to them on the phone, because that's the only place in the house.
And what are the chances of getting someone, for want of a better expression, famous to give you their telephone number? Never going to happen. But you can have their Instagram account.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because that's fine, because they can vet that. But you dropped him a message and he was good enough to reply. And so there is positives to this stuff. But the actual community that I think it says it creates, I think it's done the opposite. And studies have shown it's the opposite.
And that's
we're less connected, even though apparently we're connected.
That's the whole case going on now in America with the whole, the whistleblower on Facebook and everything else about how
he knew that they were doing it wrong, or they did something bad, right?
Knew it was fostering more and more extremist views. Yeah. And I listened to a thing last week that was saying that as a result of one of the Facebook's own studies in how things work, they set up a bunch of false accounts to see how the feed and algorithms would influence what they got. And so if you set up one account as a white American in their 20s or 30s it was, and you only liked Trump, America, and a few other things, within a week that had fed into things, and you were getting extremist right-wing views, anti-Jewish this, anti-immigration, pro-guns, and we knew all that. We just kept
and
doing
as we
it.
just touched on the neuroplasticities in our brain, that means that things are now changing. Now affects your behaviours and your decisions, and those decisions
response based on that.
And you couple that with poor dietary choices, lack of exercise, and you're on a hide into becoming a less
horrific person.
Well, yes, I mean, it was a glib comment, and I get it, but you're absolutely right. You're not a very productive and useful member of society. You're actually a horrific person.
Yeah, and your personal reward system is, I need to see more of that view because that's what I get, almost passively.
That's what gets my dolphins flowing in my brain. And it's sad. We digressed a little bit from the fitness industry there, but I think it's all connected.
I mean, going back to what we were talking about a little, we're talking about people's attitudes to exercise and fitness. Potentially controversial issue in an age where everyone's sensitive about gender. But I'm not going to ask you about how many currently exist or anything like that. Right, I've always found, and I think I've talked about this before, quite some time ago, but obviously not on a podcast.
Gender or sex?
Oh, let's not go down there. For the purposes of anyone watching who's...
We're going to go the traditional sense of cis male, cis female.
For the purposes of anyone who's quietly bunching their fists and yelling into their phone or whatever it is on Twitter, which I don't have, by the way, so you can't go ranting at me.
Yell away.
Go crazy. I won't ever know about it. Right. Now, I've always found, if literally next month is 15 years I've been in this industry professionally.
Yep.
Right now, it's about 45%. Throughout most of my career, it's always been more than that. I've had a higher female to male client ratio.
Yep.
Now, I have always found, barring specific instances, women make better PT clients.
Yep.
Because they've got less ego involved.
Yep.
They've got a greater investment in their sense of self, barring bad peer influences and now social media.
Sure.
But also, I think once they realise that something they're doing has a benefit to their own longevity and sense of self, they are now sold. They can go, right, I'm now making this a part of my life. It's not something I just throw myself out for 6 weeks and then walk away from. When it comes to, again, not all, because I've got a bunch of male clients now that are very, very good and hardworking, but guys have a much shorter attention span, are much more ego-driven, and much more likely to go, oh yeah, I've worked with him for a bit now, I know what I'm doing. Which of course is not the case.
But it's tied to the second one, the ego
exactly,
thing, right?
So what I was going to ask you was, have you found anything similar?
Yes.
So that's really interesting because I've not prepped
That's a
you
short
on that.
answer for a change. Yes.
I've not prepped you on that conversation. It's a case of, that's been something I've said to people for easily the last 10 years.
Yeah, and it's not, and I agree with you. I think it's definitely been the case. I've definitely had, and I don't right now, strangely enough, but I've definitely had more female PT clients. They've, generally speaking, broad strokes, are more susceptible to the advice and the direction that I give. And again, I'm not going to talk for you, but I feel that we train the clients in the same kind of mindset. It's less aesthetic and more movement and pain-free. So they're more attuned to that, and they understand that. They're willing to listen to that a bit more. They don't have that perceived notion, I know what I'm doing, I just want a different way of doing it.
Sure.
So I still want my biceps to be trained, so I want you to show me another couple of exercises for the biceps. That's not to say that not all guys do, and if they are open to those conversations, then you found that they then stay with you anyway because they appreciate the whole bit. But no, I absolutely agree. That is something that I've found. It's not always the case because you just mentioned on those 8 to 12 week body transformation things. Sometimes men and women get led down that path for whatever reasons. And most of the time, I think it's females that go that route. But generally speaking, I'd agree with you. I do feel, though, that whoever stays with the kind of coach that we may be, male or female, will stay. Yeah. If they stay the course. Now, I'm going to say like a block of, let's say, 10. A block of 10 isn't quite enough. No. For them to be fully bought in. They may engage with you, males, and listen and do what you've asked them to do, but the real crux is the second, third, and fourth, and fifth sets of 10, whether they're truly bought into it. So the males can stay, but I think they take a little bit longer. They need to be cajoled a little bit more, and I think it's the way that we would coach the clients would certainly keep both, but the guys need to be. You need to hold them a little bit longer before they're hooked. Before that fish has landed, they fight a little bit longer. Yeah. And sometimes I'm just not willing to have the fight. I'll just cut the line.
It's all right. Okay. That's going to feed absolutely into the next question. Then we talk about firing clients. Yeah. because
Please
I've only
do it.
right now. I've only had cause to do this probably 4 or 5 times in my entire career, because typically those people that aren't going to commit and they aren't really as interested as they probably either know they should be or they should be, they'll fall away by their own volition. They won't renew after this month or whatever. They've got this contract. They'll just step away. Normally, they won't tell you they're doing that because they'll make an excuse to save the one-on-one embarrassment, or it'll be a text message. But there have been a few I've needed to cut away because I'm like, as I'm sure you'll say, the mental and emotional investment in trying to deal with that person is not worth my time. Because I mean, I have it now as part of the contract that I sign with my clients. If I consider this relationship to be detrimental, then I don't put it. This is a bit more legalese on the contract, but it's like, I'm going to suggest that we call it a day. I'll find you another trainer if you'd like me to.
I think that's the key.
But I'm going to
there.
say, right at the end of this course, either then or out of immediate effect, I'll refund your money from beyond this point. But shake your hand and good luck. But we are not going to work together.
And I think you touched on it. If you don't mind me just cutting there, Rich, because when you said I'll find you another trainer, because I think from a positive side, so anybody listening to this now is please don't get the impression that it's not just if we are not happy, we will fire you. That is it. Because everybody, you, me, and anyone listening to this right now, you need to look after yourself first. Yourself. You can't help anybody else, whether that's your wife, your kids, your husband, unless you're happy and you can look after yourself. And so if that means making decisions in our job, in our business, about cutting a client, it's not necessarily a personal thing. It's not that we are that much of an arsehole. It's just that we have understood that my energy, not in the woo-woo sense, but my physical, emotional state that I give so much when I'm with a client, I'm 100% focused. I'm not looking at Instagram while I'm training you and all that stuff. I'm invested in helping you to be better. That takes energy, emotional energy, physical energy sometimes, because I'm one of the trainers that gets down and does it with you, because that's inspirational, not motivating. I'm not going to shout at you. I'll be with you doing it. I've got to be in the trenches with you. Otherwise, there's no respect there. But that means I'm physically invested. And so when you mentioned that I'll find a trainer for you, that's it. We still care about you. We still want you to be healthy. We haven't forgotten why we do this job. But there's other trainers that might be at this current stage in your life, in your fitness progression, whether you're fresh off the boat, as in just putting your toe in the water of getting healthy, or whether you're further down the line. I'm not the trainer for you, but I care about you because you're a human and I care about you being better to find another trainer. And I will find someone that's more, should we say, maybe you wouldn't say this, but more patient, more tolerant, has a different outlook on how to coach you. Maybe they can get through to you that I can't. So it's firing them, but it should be seen but I still want to help you. And I'm helping you by me not being a trainer anymore. And I'm helping myself because now I'm happy. And I can't help the next person if I'm fucking miserable. Because of what you've done. Unintentionally. You don't come to me in the intention to upset me. So that's got to be clarify that. They're not trying to upset you on purpose. But because of how I feel when I'm with you, I feel it's best if we part ways. But I want you to be happy and healthy. Here's John. Here's Sarah.
Go and work with them.
Go and work with them.
I mean, I think going on exactly from that is, like you said, we've got to look after ourselves as well. But there's also the realization that if you're out there listening to this as a member of the public, whatever your training history and issues are, some people don't want to be coached. Not so much they can't, they don't want to, because what they're seeking from changing their bodies or their health or hiring a coach is the cure isn't the problem for their particular ailment, if that makes sense. They've got self-esteem issues or relationship issues, or they're having a really bad time at their job, on their relationship, and they're down on themselves, or any other host of issues. And for them, they're grasping what they think might be a solution, which is maybe if I went and did some exercise. It's
certainly part of the solution, right? We all know exercise is good for you, but you're right, hiring an actual PT, it might be better that they need to join a basketball team or a football team.
But I mean, in case of
if
you're having a problem with your spouse, going to the gym isn't going to fix it. You're using that as for maybe a part of that experience, you feel a little bit better on yourself, but it gets you away from your spouse for an hour, 3 times a week. Or your job's crap, so you're trying to find some grasp of success in something, somewhere, somehow. but you're not mentally, emotionally in the right space. So guess what? You don't engage with your trainer, you don't do the exercises properly or safely, you don't see the return, and that ends up almost becoming part of the rod that you're beating yourself over the head with.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. So that comes back to the you generally listener person, people are not ready for that.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
That coach yet, or that trainer, or even maybe not even the gym yet, which is why maybe joining a sports club is potentially a better
because
thing.
you'll join a bunch of like-minded peers, and it's all about boiling you up to achieve a group goal, and that becomes a much more beneficial experience.
And before you know it, 6 weeks later, I've happened to have lost a couple of kilos
exactly
because I was actually a bit more active in my
Absolutely.
life.
And it feeds in a little bit to what we talked about before, about saying that I've always found that women make better clients over the broader spectrum than men do, because I think women can see a sense of self in achieving something, regardless of aesthetics. It's one of the things I've had to hammer, either politely or a bit less so, in some of the women I train. Is right, when they're coming, I want to be this waist size or this weight, and I'll go, right, why this size? Why not 5 pounds more or less? Why don't you say this waist size? Why not one more, one smaller? Right. And you'll get a variety of answers, but the point comes in, I basically want to be me 2.0. And you go, right, I tell you what, how about we do this? I'll work with you to get you stronger, fitter, more athletic, more competent in yourself. And in a month or two down the line, let's see what you look like. Because you might find that what you think is your dream, quote unquote, physique, you've got to without aiming to look like it. Or you might find you're 75% towards that number, but guess what? That's where you want to be. Because you know that requires only this amount of exercise, only these changes in your diet. You don't have to give up the night out drinking with the girls. And hey, guess what? I can make this part of my life. I'm happy. Whereas the other side of that is going, I'm going to have to kill myself to try and get to something I know I can't maintain. And I hope for the 5 days or the photo shoot that I've got there, or the friend's wedding I'm going to, I'm going to go, look at me, and someone's going to go, hey, you look great. And then it'll be
you'll get 100 likes on Instagram, but then guess what? Tomorrow it's a different Instagram post.
You'll be like, oh, guess what? Everyone's going, hey, that's an awesome cup of coffee. It's the case of it's not.
Where'd you buy those shoes?
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, great, I like the dress. No, not yours. The one of the girls stood next to you. And it's a case of like those. It's Ross Edgley is someone I find very informative about things he's done in terms of fitness and sports science. But he said a while back in a podcast I listened to, it's like, what are your goals? Are they extrinsic or intrinsic? Is it something that you want for a goal that's important to you personally? Or is it, like you said before, something shiny on, you are motivated by an external goal? I will look good in other people's eyes, or I'll be able to afford this car, or go buy these clothes for holiday, whatever it is. Like, you need to know what it is you want before you even start, earnestly.
Yep.
If someone goes to me, I want to lose weight. Okay, right, let me ask you that again. And don't give me the buzzwords that you've been listening to for what do you honestly want? I want to be able to buy some new clothes that make me look good. That's an honest goal. I want to turn my partner's head like I did 5 years ago.
Not break his neck or turn
exactly.
his head. Yeah.
That's an honest goal. I want to have a sense of self-esteem about myself when I'm naked. I want to be able to play with my kids without thinking, holy shit, this is going to kill me. And they're only 5. They've got to get through 10 more years before they want to ignore mum and dad. That's an honest goal. That doesn't lead you down a rod for, a rod for your own back, because you're not even being honest with yourself from the beginning. A lot of people that come to the fitness industry are coming from a point of, if they're not already thinking they're damaged because they're buying into Instagram and everything else, they're setting themselves up to become more damaged. The eating disorder, or, hey, guess what? The 20-year-old in Lycra who spends her life bending over for a phone, she's not the 38-year-old, 45-year-old mother of 3 who hasn't been physically had the time to look after herself for 15 years. You're never going to look like her.
Yep.
And maybe, guess what? You never did in the first place. So guess what? You're not going to look like her because you never did. But guess what? Why don't we make you stronger and fitter? And bear in mind, you've got 2 or 3 kids, so your abdominal structure isn't what it was. That's going to form a great part of your initial month or 2 of training. Let's get you stronger, and you will feel better about yourself, and you will have that self-esteem. I had a client here 10 years ago. When we first started training together, because I still did mobile stuff then, I didn't have acres next to the clients, but I went to different parts of town.
Yep.
And I trained this lady at her house with a sandbag and a TRX and other bits and pieces. And we did a few months of that, and that went great. And I said to her, look, to be honest with you, we can carry on doing this, but we've now reached a point where, unless you build a gym at home, there's only so much we can do.
Yep.
All right, because you're not doing some exercise because you just don't want to. That's fine. I've never put it in your program.
Yep.
But we can only do X. We can't make too much noise half the time because your husband works as a pilot and half the time he's sleeping things off, so we're getting limited. I need to move you to the gym because that's the next stage in your progression. And she came down the following morning, walked in, raring to go. I said, cool, right, happy? I meet all my clients at the door every session when they come in. I turned around, walked 2 steps, realised she wasn't next to me, turned back, and she's got floods coming down her face. Absolute, having a complete breakdown in reception.
Go on.
I'm like, Sue, what's up? What's wrong? I haven't said anything that upset you. What's wrong? And she's like, when my kids went to school, when they were both old enough to start primary school, I took it upon myself without any prompting from my husband, because he's a nice guy. He didn't say it. He didn't say this. It wasn't like unsaid.
Yeah.
I thought, guess what? I'm a mum of 2 kids who are about 5 and 6.
Yeah.
I should look like whatever I did pre-child.
Yeah.
So she took it on herself to go to the gym 5 days a week for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours or whatever it was, and just destroyed herself. And ultimately, 6 months or so down the line, she made herself very, very ill, eating barely enough to survive, an hour of cardio plus weights and all that, because she thought, I've got to be this size. Has to be who I am. And it led to almost a complete breakdown. Walking into the gym
took her back to
took
that.
her right back there. You couldn't have had a more vivid.
And you had no idea about this
No,
beforehand
she
when
never-
you were talking about joining a gym and stuff.
She never divulged it, and to be fair, I don't think she thought it would be a problem
until she was
But,
confronted with
yeah,
it.
like you said, those pathways in your brain that never go away that she built into herself in terms of behaviour and emotion. She walked into the gym, and as she said since, she was very happy that it was almost empty.
Yeah.
Because it was that time of day, like post-work rush hour kind of thing, where she just stood there in absolute floods of tears.
Yeah.
And she was like, I was like, what's wrong with you? And she told me, she goes, I feel so embarrassed. Firstly, don't worry about being embarrassed because no one cares. But I wish you told me that because I would have been a bit more aware.
Because I'm sure you feel a bit more, use the word guilty, but you feel, a little bit of guilt that you've put someone in that situation.
Absolutely.
Or completely oblivious to that was what was going to happen. But you do shoulder some of that responsibility, right?
Yeah,
For sure.
And she built herself all the things she was trying to address at that time in her life weren't necessary, but she'd given herself this bad emotional fixation on exercise, a sense of self-worth, who she was as a person, and even though it made her unhealthy and she didn't enjoy it, that's what she thought she had to do. And cut to 15 years down the line, inadvertently she took herself right back to that whole horrible place.
It's that wonderful example of using exercise as a punishment rather than as something that we should embrace and enjoy the fact that our bodies are able to do these things rather than I have to go to the gym because I have to look like this or feel like this or
I've got to punish myself because I did this on the weekend.
I mean, you've mentioned it a few times as I'm listening to you speak, obviously, but it's that you use that word, punish myself, hurt myself, and exercise should be like a gift, a prize. We have this amazing meat sack that our brain is connected to that does these amazing things, and we should hopefully start to embrace the wonderfulness of its ability to move in many, many different ways, which makes us feel good. There's a reason why it's called play.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
Playing is fun. The gym, and I quite often I would always used to use the term that when I go to the gym where all the machines are and stuff, that's not where I spend any time. I say,
me neither.
do you ever use machines? And I say, well, occasionally I might hang my towel on one. And they were like, well, why not? I said, well, it has, like let's say a leg extension. There's some place for it in rehabilitation and stuff, but you won't find me over there. No. I go over to where my playground is. And I said, what do you mean your playground? Well, because there's ropes and kettlebells and balls and straps and sticks that you can throw and you can jump on things and you can roll on the floor and you can play. That's playtime. Yeah. And quite often with clients, I've had them holding a Viper, the rubber tube and stuff, and we're just hitting a balloon up in the air. Yeah. Your job is to keep that balloon up, not touch the ground for 1 minute. Yeah. And they're like, why? And of course, what they don't know is they're moving in transverse plane. They're doing all these curls. They're holding a load, and they're doing all this stuff, and they're getting out of breath, and they're burning a calorie, and all this stuff. But they're actually just having fun, and that's what it should be. So exercise should be a fun, playful thing that you feel good about doing, not as a punishment to do. I'm eating this donut, I have to go to the gym to burn a donut.
No, 30 calories, it's half an hour.
Enjoy the donut. Hopefully it was a good quality one and you liked it and you didn't just inhale it and you enjoyed it. And now, instead of punishing yourself for that, say, right, I'm going to go to the gym and enjoy another thing that I like to do, which is exercise, and not clash those two together, avoid the box of donuts, but have the one. It's just, the shit tastes good. Sometimes you eat stuff because shit tastes good, right? Just avoid the stuff that is just because it tastes good, and add more stuff because it tastes good and does you good. But every now and then, eat something just because it tastes good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said to you, I recorded last night a short half-hour podcast with my wife.
Which this one isn't.
Which
This
one
we're
isn't.
touching 90 minutes now. You've
Yeah,
probably
no,
driven
yeah,
to work
yeah.
every day for a week and still not finished this one.
But I mean, we talked about that was just half an hour. I sort of ambushed her and went, okay, I was going to do this as like a unscheduled, chat. And I was like asking you because I know that she'd already told me.
Yeah.
She had to defend her choice of boyfriend when we started dating.
Yeah.
Because everyone was like, why are you dating a personal trainer? We all know what they're like. And she went, no, he's actually qualified and knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he's not one of these arseholes posing on his phone all the time.
Yeah.
But we talked about different things like that, and it's a case
That's
of...
not what she said. She said, well, because he's fit and he's probably good in bed.
Yeah,
that's
right,
what she
I'm
said
not
to her
commenting
friends.
on that.
Lucy, if you're listening,
Yeah.
that's what you said to your friends. Why are you dating a person? Because he's fit and he's going to be good in bed. That's what you said.
Lucy, I'm blushing.
Own it.
I'm going to cut this clip out for Instagram stories.
Now, I have heard that you've since been disappointed that he's not that fit and is a pretty shit in bed, but that's what you were hoping when you
That's my
dated.
career destroyed. No,
Your career?
Yeah.
Being good in bed is your career?
No, that wasn't.
Is this a little side hustle you've got going?
If it pays better, I'll give it a go. Save
That's
me
what
going to
she
the gym.
said.
Save me going to the gym at 5 a.m. But no, we were talking about the difference in when it comes to exercise and activities. We're saying that she was like talking about the things that make us different, and I said because she has never enjoyed going to the gym and would never go. And even if we went together,
And that's not a problem.
no, exactly. That was my point.
Yeah.
Like, if we went to the gym together, we go in the door and go, right, you're not going to go and do what you can tolerate, and I'll go and do what. So you're not going to be squatting and deadlifting with me. You're 5'8", 5'9", shit, she's 5'10", but you'll be going to do what a 5'9", 5'10" lady in her mid-30s goes and does with no history of strength training. I'm 6'4" and 240 pounds. I might go and do heavy days, squats, deadlifts, all that kind of. The two don't mesh. Whereas she would very much all day go hiking, paddleboarding, kayaking,
Wonderful.
dog,
Outdoors.
Exactly. But that's the
Moving
difference.
the whole body, different environments. Wonderful.
To her, activity is solely enjoyment, reward.
Yep.
It's because our honeymoon we went to Cornwall, and it was a case of walk around Cornwall and eat in some high-end or Michelin-star restaurants. That was it for a week. That's all we wanted to do. Yep. Fresh air, peace and quiet.
Wonderful.
Loads of other, and everything was enjoyment. Yeah, you bring her back, to our normal like life and go, right, babe, let's go to the gym. She'd go, no.
No,
I mean, she goes, I have no interest in doing it. She's doing yoga. She's taken up yoga in the last few months because I finally got through a little bit, and she saw my point of like, you can't keep saying to hubby who's got a sports therapy table in the house, I've got bad back again, and my neck aches. I'm right. Okay, right. Your back is never going to go away until you. I mean, I don't mind the massages on my side of it, but you need to improve your posture, your strength. You need to.
And one of the ways to do that is that place you maybe don't like going to.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, we need to find something that works for you. So she started doing a bit of TRX work at home in the mornings for a spell, and she goes to yoga. So she's improving all the mechanics, and lo and behold, she doesn't have those issues anymore. She doesn't come home and go, neck's killing me. I'm like, let me guess, all day sat at your desk, and she's advertising. She spends a lot of time in meetings and all that kind of stuff. But she's like, she was said last night, and she said, before that, I see the value in what you told me about looking after myself for myself's sake, rather than just going, I've got to go to the gym, which I hate from day one.
Yep.
She's never going to be someone who goes to the gym and goes, I despise it, but I see the end result. She's not getting paid 14 million to be the next Marvel film.
Do you think this goes back to a little bit what you were saying before about understanding the mindset of potential clients and where they actually are? They've come to the gym because they think they have to.
Sure.
Because they feel that possibly that's the only way they're going to get to whatever goal there is.
Yeah.
And I do feel that sometimes I just not from a financial reason, but I wish you'd spoken to me because I would have gladly done something not in the gym. As in you've come and I see you now doing 8 to 10 reps and these machines.
Sure.
And if you're not happy, we can find a way where you can move and exercise and get those results that you're talking about, whether it's the dress or the car or whatever it was, male or female.
Yeah.
And we don't have to be in here. I know enough about what I do for a living that we don't need hardly any equipment. That wasn't very good English, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
And we just need to be outdoors.
Sure.
You want to be outdoors? We'll go outdoors.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Really? I can get this result and I don't have to be in the gym.
Yeah.
I know, shock horror, right? Regardless of what all the gyms that are opening every day and all the impact or the bombarding you with social media about this gym, and this 12-day, this 6-week program and the bands and straps and this.
Yeah.
No, you can get the results you want. You just come and we'll go and play outside.
During-
We will play outside.
I mean, during the recent unpleasantness in modern times, I was doing, I did it for free. It was a group of and it came through referrals. A bunch of, I said I'd take up to 8 people. I ended up having 5 or 6 most of the time. 3 times a week, I would do via Zoom because you couldn't move around freely those times. An hour-long class of body weight and TRX exercises.
Yep.
And ended up with each session was 5, 6 women who would do it because it was part of a expat mums group. It wasn't a sexist thing. It was those the ones who took it up. And we just did that.
Yep.
And they were like the same reason. They couldn't go to the gym anyway because of what was going on. But in the case of 5 of those 6 wouldn't have gone to the gym if it was open.
Yep.
That was why they took up the offer of, hey, the woman who set it up, going, this guy who I really value as a training friend of mine, has said he will do this classes because he's got the time. If you want to Zoom in, let him know. We'll get the email list set up, and that's what we did. Because they were like, well, I won't go to the gym anyway because I hate the idea. But hubby's got a TRX, or my neighbour's got one they don't use.
Yep.
I can set up in the spare bedroom or the garage, and blah blah blah, and off we go there. And that worked wonders. There was one funny instance where one of the 6.
She didn't take the Zoom camera to the toilet.
No, not that. But she set it up on the
I'm
laptop.
not a cat.
Set it up on the laptop, and it just so happened that her son decided to open the bedroom door when she was in the middle of exercise.
Okay. Well, for those of you using a suspension trainer on a door, we do advise that the door is locked.
Yeah.
For exactly that reason. Hopefully, it wasn't an exercise it wasn't a chest press, was it?
No. It was. I think she was doing a row, so she wasn't that much of a steep angle. So
Not that much better.
It turned
bang
into
the back of the head rather than your face. Yeah.
But it turned into a bit of a stumble backwards rather than a face plant on a concrete. So that was
and we do have those little signs that you hang on the other side of the door.
Do not open in use.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I think she learned a lesson.
It's the exercise thing. We can talk all day about how good deadlifts are for you, why you should deadlift.
Sure.
You got to do the lifts, squats, bench.
Yeah.
You got to do that stuff. You got to, but you can say "got to" all the time. But ultimately, the key to getting someone longevity or getting someone committed to movement and exercise, not gym.
Sure.
Longevity-wise, is to make exercise and movement fun.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Whether you're kids or adults, if they're not bought into it, if it's not bringing, you should feel better after a workout. You should feel happier and more energized.
Not miserable and loathing.
Exactly. And certainly not in any pain.
Yeah.
Not muscular discomfort, but, any pain.
Yeah.
And the trainers moving forwards in this chat that I feel, from an advice point of view, if there's any professionals out there now, from what I've learned is if you can understand human behavior and the things that drive them and motivate them are not necessarily aesthetic things. They're things that you've touched on, Richard, about emotional states, about confidence, etc., and all that great stuff. If you could tap into that, if you can learn a bit more about that, don't necessarily learn about this new piece of equipment in the gym or use this new treadmill in the gym, which has got a screen on it, for sake.
Yeah, exactly. Tuned into YouTube.
Yeah, or a new machine that's shiny that's still just a leg press or still just a bicep curl machine or a new dumbbell that's shiny. Oh my word. It's just the same shit. You can lift anything heavy with your arm.
Sure.
Don't lift a rock. Probably be better for you anyway because of the change. Anyway, if you can find a way rather than that stuff to learn about human behavior, how to talk to someone, how to listen to someone, how to truly understand what it is that maybe they're really looking for deep down, and then you will actually end up realizing that exercise and movement should be fun and enjoyable, and they're more likely to stick with it. They're more likely then to want to do the other good things, eat properly, sleep properly, get sunlight, community, enjoy time with other people. And that will really help to elevate yourself as a coach, not just learning the names of all the muscles. I've forgotten half that shit, mate, if I'm honest. But understanding how to help someone to move better and enjoy it, they're going to stick with you. You'll have a client for life. Hence the professional thing. You'll have a client longer that will refer people to you more. You will actually have a better business rather than just trying to invent the new 8-week ab program on Instagram or Facebook or online. You've got to learn how to deal with people. You've got to interact with people and emotionally connect with people.
I mean, I know
that's what we do.
I know I've said to you before that, or may have been a post that you liked, and I know that's the reason why I
that week I was on Instagram for a day,
but which was the fact that no one's discovering new human body parts.
That's true,
and we move as we always have moved. Yeah. So, like you said, when it comes around that in 2022 there'll be the 50th iteration of a spin class.
Yeah.
You know, or
Yeah.
there'll be a new brand of Reebok circuit training class, which was the same as the Nike one 5 years ago and the Adidas one 10 years ago.
But it's called a different name.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now, Richard, it's in the dark and with flashing lights.
And
so
it's
the
part
coach
sauna.
can't see you to be able to coach
Correct,
you
yeah,
better
yeah.
because it's in the dark. But because it's in the dark, it's new.
Yeah, and you'll have to pay $500 a month.
Absolutely. But it's in the dark and it's new.
Yeah.
And it's got fluorescent lights on the wall when
Absolutely.
the music's update. But it's in the dark.
And they cull the weakest one at the end of every month. That'll be motivation, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I cut you there.
Yeah, no, that was... Okay, right, so, what are we at? Okay, so...
Are we on the 4 hour mark yet?
Yeah, we're getting there. Right, okay, so I think we're going to wrap this up at 2 hours. We've got this on in 20 minutes.
Not about
Right,
it's awful podcast length, but it's been a great chat. So apologies if you stuck with us this far.
Congratulations. You can send us money later for short podcasts. We'll do shorter ones if you pay us. Right, okay, so last point aimed at the fitness industry as a whole, right? You and I have both been around enough now to see all the things that are good.
Yep.
And all the things that raise a degree of cynicism, if not outright annoyance. You know, I heard a little while back what I think is one of the best terms for the industry, which is the whole, everything around it, which is fitness misleadia. Not me, fitness media, fitness misleadia.
Misleadia.
You know,
Okay, that's
when
a
it comes
cool
to,
little pun thing.
when it comes to what's portrayed versus what's real, what works versus what's sold, and all the difference. If you could enact one or multiple sweeping changes through the industry, what would they be?
Well, you know, you did actually pre-warn me about that question when you first reached out about doing this podcast. And it was, I mean, there was a few questions there, and a lot of them I didn't need to prep. I could answer that. The questions about history and stuff. But that was the one that is, there's a lot, but what would have the most impact? You know, I mean, I could sit here and say, get rid of machines, but that's a sweeping statement, and we've already discussed that some machines have their value. Well, that would be a bit silly. So, you know, I could say increase what is known as functional training areas. I don't like that term, by the way, but from a visual point of view to the listener, that's the area that doesn't have machines compared to the one that does. And it's tough, dude. I have to say it's tough. So I would like, and I hope this answers the question and not kind of answers a different question and make it sound like I'm answering. So I would make some sort of sweeping change to how club gym owners stroke managers employ, maybe their recruitment policy, but how they employ, treat, motivate, care for, nurture the staff, the coaches. I say that because I honestly think that if we had better PTs, better coaches, better fitness instructors, whatever term you want to use, that were more attuned to human beings and not just obsessed with muscles, the latest fancy exercise. It's complicated, it must be good for you. Just do 100 burpees, looking at your phone. If we could recruit, like I say, train, nurture better quality coaches, respect them and value them, and don't offer them shit pay with shit conditions, and just keep asking them to cut down their stuff so that overwork them, force them to do 12 clients a day. What do you think the quality of the 12th client gets compared to the first one? It's awful. Yet that 12th client, it's their 1 hour. It's their one day to come and do whatever they're going to, 1 hour, to do. And they deserve respect and, respect the same value and quality of service as client number one. And that all comes down from the management. So I would like to see a sweeping change in how managers view their staff in the fitness industry, and not just look at it as a money-making business and screw the client, which we know they can do, but screw your staff. You know, if you're going to screw them in a good way. Offer them incentives, offer them training, give them good work conditions. I would say 4 to 6 hours a day maximum PT time. That's it. And with breaks in between that. Not 4 to 6 hours flat.
Straight.
Two and then a break. Encourage them to train themselves in the gym. Don't say you can't train, it's too busy. No, I want my staff in the gym exercising. I want them training. I want them interacting. I want them to be a role model, not on their phones, putting the equipment back. And all that comes down to the management and recruitment of staff. And when we say staff, let's talk about from where you and I are, which is personal trainer coaches. Of course, that goes to frontline staff and everybody else. But
Yeah.
right now, it's managers, owners. Please look after your staff.
Sure.
Respect them and value them.
It's unfortunate that.
Does that answer the question, by the way? Or does was you expecting me to say ban ab rollers and shit like that? Because do that.
Put snipers in gyms for trainers who use phones. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Like you say, that the economic model of say commercial fitness is let's treat our staff like every other service industry, which is we're going to recruit the various legal qualified people in a lot of cases that we can get insurance to cover, and we're going to offer you not great salaries. If we bother doing that, it might be commission based mostly, and we're going to expect you to flog yourself to death.
Yeah, so here's your potential earnings, 15 grand a month.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, that's awesome. 15,000 dirhams. Let's say. Thank you, that's awesome. But you've got to work 60 hours a week.
Yeah.
Well, where is the business model actually caring about the client in that model right there? Because the 60th client, or I just said, the 10th client of the day, their quality of service isn't that good.
No,
and apparently they're the ones that are paying our salaries. So you want me to give them shit service and expect them to then pay more money? No, guess what you do? You then say, well, we'll charge less for PT. And then they'll stay.
Yeah.
That's just not the way to do it. Sorry, I jumped in on
No.
the point there,
That
but
was
you touched on it.
That was pretty much I agree with all that. I mean, like you say, if you want a good lawyer or a good surveyor or a good architect, you find the best you can afford for your budget, and maybe you find money from elsewhere to get the best you can possibly feasibly receive.
Yeah.
But it's a strange model. I think it's almost like a reciprocal thing, whereas the industry wants to make all the money it can for the least expense, including the staff. The public, not everybody, obviously, because you and I have respectful, high-paying clients, but the public don't perceive the fitness industry really almost in the same way that a lot of people see like mechanics and hairdressers and people who work in supermarkets. We don't get perceived as quote unquote real jobs or a legit profession. So it's a case of I don't need to pay you shit. I'll find the trainer that I can pay minimal wage if that country,
because they're going to do the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because they've got the same job title.
Yeah, exactly.
And, and they've got big muscles.
Absolutely.
And they have their shirt off in their Instagram.
It's like a case of, I know there's a guy across town who charges 8 times what you charge, and he's always busy, and everyone does great results, but I find myself too cheap.
Yeah.
I'm going to barely open my wallet to pay you. No, you've got to pay your own bills and everything else, and the gym takes some of what I pay you anyway. But at the same time, like I said, I won't take my 6-month-old BMW or the motorbike I bought myself as a menopausal male present or whatever to the cheapest guy in town. I'm going to the dealer, and it's going to cost me hundreds of dollars per service.
Isn't it interesting that you'll find, just touching on that you and it's the state of the current world we're in right now, we will think nothing of going to the best doctor to fix the problems that you now have, but you're not willing to invest half of that in someone that would have prevented those problems from ever happening in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a weird sort of scenario, like you say, the idea that we don't value the connection to ourselves enough to go, I'll put some money into it. Not everybody, as I would say. A lot of people.
We use blanket statements. I apologise, everybody. I hope you understand that we're being general, but
it is a valid point. It's the idea of, like you say, unless something motivates you. Like, you can look at the other extreme, and I don't wish this on anybody before anyone jumps on it. But if you have a partner or a parent or a child or a pet who has a significant health concern, but we know it's going to be short term. We know it can be completely remedied with no long-going consequences. But guess what? They've got to see the specialist for treatment 2 to 3 times a week across town. Only you can take them. We know this is going to be curable. You don't think twice.
Yep.
You go, right, yep, sure, I'll take some time off work, or I'll get out of bed early to go and do this because this is someone I value, something I love. I won't begin to question doing it.
The other shit that's not important, I will push you out of the way because I know it's not important, really.
Yeah. I will find a way to make this work because it's something like, let's go back to that point we raised before, the hierarchy of values. What's important to you? When it comes to your sense of self, you know what? Guess what, fella? You're 45, and that waistline increases every 6 months.
Yep.
And what are you doing? You're buying a new wardrobe rather than exercise. You're going, oh shit, these trousers don't fit. To anybody, to a lot of people, that would be warning signs.
Of course, you've got to ask, where does that new wardrobe come from? And it's probably somewhere quite expensive.
Absolutely. The warning bells go off going, gosh, shit, they shrunk my clothes again. No, they haven't.
Those pesky cleaners.
Yeah, absolutely. The dry cleaners have done it again. All my suits don't fit. But it's a case of what people respect in themselves or value until they get the long face from a doctor, or unfortunately they have an episode of some degree.
Yeah, go and take these drugs.
Yeah.
And guess what? You take these drugs
every day for the rest of your life.
Every day for the rest of your life, but you have to go to the pharmacy and buy those drugs at X amount of cost.
Sure.
And again, that's, I need to buy those drugs because that's going to get me healthy. No, actually, what you need to do is eat more fresh fruit and vegetables, exercise more, drink more water. Yeah. It's a lot healthier. It's a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
I'm whispering, so hopefully you get it. It's a lot cheaper than drugs.
Sure.
And people in pharmaceutical companies, controversial now, they do not want you healthy because that does not drive their business. They want you to be sick. So they want you to eat processed foods because that makes you sick, and then you buy the drugs.
Yeah,
they don't want you healthy.
That's why
it's not in their interest to get you healthy.
Some years back, when Obama was president in the US, I had a fit verbally. I was at a friend's house down the road where I used to live, near you.
Yeah.
I sat having a coffee one afternoon, and it came out that the whatever the medical body is in the States had classified obesity as a disease.
Okay.
I was like, why do you think they classified obesity as a disease? Because then, if something is a disease, they can market a quote-unquote
cure for the disease. Yep.
You can take, the insurance companies will now, as a consequence of Obamacare, they finally agreed to the terms and conditions behind closed doors. If you make it a disease, we can put it on the insurance paperwork. We put it on the insurance paperwork, we can sell you treatments for obesity.
And I know we're going to go with this. The doctor can then prescribe a personal trainer and access to healthy fruit and vegetables and water every day, right? That's what they'll prescribe, right?
Yeah, of course.
Isn't it? That's exactly what they'll then do. And you can get that on your insurance. You can hire someone to bring you good quality food and a trainer. Oh, no, that's not what you're going to say. We're going to give you drugs.
Missed that day in ethics school. It's like, no. You need statins and blood pressure medication and type 2 diabetes medication. And guess what? That's going to cost your insurance company $1,400 a month. You're only 25. You're going to live to be 70. They're going to make a hell of a lot of money off of you.
And I don't get any commission on that whatsoever. No, absolutely not. I'm not getting a little kickback on that at all.
No.
Because if I told everyone to eat more healthily, exercise regularly, drink water, sleep better, and have community, I wouldn't have a job.
Yeah, exactly.
And then how am I going to sell their drugs? And then
I wouldn't have a summer home and a yacht and a mistress.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a very negative view on it. And I just one more thing on that, because I know that potentially maybe no pressure, Lucy, that one day you might have kids.
Hey, I'm the one getting in the
even though you're shit in bed, you might be able to produce one. Is that, and I see it with mums and dads with newborn babies, wonderful. Really careful about everything that goes in their mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
how much is that baby food? It's a spoon. If you and I, it'd be one spoonful, and that we'd want 5 more to feel full. But it's 6, 10, 15 dirhams. I don't expensive, right? But it's got to be organic, and it's got to be healthy. It's got to be this, that, and
Why is that?
And then it gets
poor
to
quality is bad.
Yeah. Poor quality is bad. High sugar is bad. High processed is bad. And yet it gets to an age where they don't. Pardon the French. Again, general blanket statement. They don't give a shit about their kids anymore. Have your bowl of Cocoa Pops. I don't care.
Shut up. Give me 5 minutes peace.
Okay, we're going to have McDonald's because it stops you.
Not to badmouth parents, but we get the point.
So it's almost like once they can walk, you don't care about their health anymore.
Yeah.
Or something. It's heartbreaking because it's like, please look after your children.
I mean, I used to, when I was still in the military, I used to have a second job, believe it or not. Because
do you wonder how many people we've upset, or I've upset?
Few.
We got mums, females, males.
Yeah, absolutely. Just cover everyone. Fuck it. Right. But
you're now leading me in the F-bombs, by the way.
But no, when I used to, my latter years of my military career, I had a casual part-time second job because I had a credit card bill from an ex-girlfriend to pay off. And it was...
Stay tuned for part 2 where we learn all about this.
But that was for a valet company that... not just like to and from the car park, but it was like all high-end cars, accounts with the BBC and everything kind of stuff.
Right,
so
gotcha.
We picked these cars up from whatever terminal at Heathrow, and they went off-site out to Slough and vice versa. And yes, you had normal people as customers, but it was like VW employees and all that. It was like big accounts. And even then, I was in my mid-20s, and I hadn't yet moved into this as a career, but it used to... I mean, upset sounds like an emotionally charged word, but you'd see parents come back from their weekends away or their vacations with their children, and you go, right, live your own life. I don't beat the drum to anyone. If you want to ask my opinion, I can give my advice, but other than that, you live your life. But you would see parents that didn't give a shit about themselves.
Yep.
You know, they've got the belly, the dad's got the football shirt that might have fitted him at 14, but guess what? It doesn't fit him at 45.
Still got Paul Gascoigne written on the back.
Yeah, the beer belly's there and the ruddy face, and his wife's the same with him, but with the estrogen. And you see them and you think, you live your life, knock yourself out. Then you see the little girl who's 6 and the son who's 14 look like models of their parents. And you think, you haven't got a hope.
Yep.
Unless you get that sudden, hugely positive influence in your life,
Yep.
especially the little girl,
Yep.
you think, all right, the guy's a preteen or the daughter's preteen if the genders are reversed, but you think the only influence you have is the person who brings food into the house, who makes food for you, who sets the example when it comes to food, drink, and exercise, and that's what you've got.
Yep.
And I would love to see, in my mind, a change to certainly Western culture, because physical education, believe it or not, is the only a subject at school that you don't have to pass. Right?
Do they still even have it? I mean, when I was in school, it was an hour a week.
Yeah, it's been downgraded in the UK.
Even
certainly.
though physical activity is shown to improve brain concentration levels and therefore...
I mean, I don't know now because I've looked at UK
examination results.
It's been downgraded over consecutive governments, I'm sure. But why is it that children aren't taught? Because bear in mind, from the age of whatever you start primary school, I don't know because I've not been there for a while, and leaving at 16, you spend more time on a weekly basis in school than you do at home. Mm-hmm. So why are you not getting the influence when it comes to healthy practices, understanding what actual nutrition might be good for, exercise, health? Why is that not forming a regular part of education? It should be a compulsory GCSE.
Oh, I totally agree. 100%. Yep, you're preaching to the converted here.
You think straight out of the gates, the billions, and it would be billions, saved annually to the NHS and everything else in terms of later stage illness, disease, heart problems, all the kind of things that could be, if not prevented, steered away from.
Yeah, but so I think prevented is the one. Yeah, preventable illnesses and diseases have got to be the majority in the hospitals right now.
If you taught teenagers what pre-type 2 diabetes is, it's entirely induced by your lifestyle.
Yep.
Here's how to avoid it.
Yep.
Here's how to understand what flexibility in your lifestyle is, so you can still enjoy yourself. You don't have to live this horribly miserable lifestyle, but you can just go into your student years or out of education, and you can enjoy yourself and still be healthy.
Yeah. And how can we show you that and help you to do that? We can mandate that high processed sugar foods are no longer allowed to be served in schools.
Sure.
More fresh fruit and vegetables and water.
Into schools,
and you'll say, well, it costs too much. Well, then subsidise the farmers.
Yeah.
Pay them to grow more fresh fruit and vegetables. Because if it's like a money thing, like you said, well, we're going to grow healthier kids, which is less of a burden on the NHS. So the money that you're saving on the NHS, you can pay the farmers to grow more fresh fruit and vegetables and sell it to the schools at cost, whatever it is, so that they don't have to buy cheap shit to feed the
rather than fix a problem, prevent one.
Yeah, and it's very frustrating. And again, for anyone listening to this, Richard and I are not parents,
not yet,
but we have kids in our life, right? I currently live with my brother, who's got 2 sons. I have children around and in my life, both at work and at home. And I don't have to have my own kids to care about kids, to love kids, to want them to. I don't necessarily want any of my own.
Yeah.
In case there's any females out there listening and wondering. But I do want them to be healthy because I know the value of it. So I don't want it to sound like that your parents are all awful and all this kind of stuff. It's because you and I care about the kids that we have that emotion. You said upset. Me, sometimes it's anger. It's like frustration. You know that's bad. Why are you doing it?
So you wouldn't do it to your dog.
You wouldn't do it to your dog.
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't do it to each other. Or if you asked what's healthier, a banana or a Mars bar, a banana's got sugar. Oh, come on. You know one has got value, one hasn't. Make that choice.
Absolutely.
There's no excuses.
It's, like I say, there's some cultural shifts that I would like to see, because when all said and done, we shouldn't be dealing with people in their late teens and 30s and 40s that have got the kind of issues that used to be seen in the 50s, 60s and 70s.
No, you're right. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I shouldn't see it, and I have in the past, although not recently, having teenagers as clients. I shouldn't be seeing postural abnormalities from lifestyles that you normally see in the old age generations, because they spend all their life sat in big comfy chairs.
You should not be seeing type 2 diabetes in kids.
No, because that's entirely environmental.
It's lifestyle choices.
Exactly. It's an unfortunate culture.
And that used to be an older thing. The stuff. Yeah,
you see during the course of it, it's pregnancy-induced diabetes type 2, or it's latter stage where through aging, you've started to do less, your physicality has declined, and as a result, maybe your diet didn't keep pace with your change in lifestyle, so you've got type 2 diabetes. And it's
even though we know exercise, better food is what keeps us healthy. We're bombarded with that all the time.
No, and it's
ignored.
It's something that, like I say, cultural shifts would be a fantastic thing. And it's sadly, in the modern age, that's the kind of thing that only happens with massive financial incentive.
Yep.
If someone somewhere could turn around to, because it's a smaller country, Great Britain, someone turn around to as a private business,
Yeah.
private sector, to say to the government, hey, guess what? If we'll make $5 billion a year, but for $1.5 billion, $2 billion, we will privatize health education in schools. So the government could take it, go, not in our hands.
Yeah.
Off you go.
Yeah.
You can make your profit, because let's face it, that's how governments work.
Yeah.
But we will now have mandatory.
Yeah.
Not to say we're going to bully your kids through 3 cross-country runs every week,
No.
but there will be
No, play.
activity.
They will be encouraged to go outside and
You'll be
play.
exercising.
Yeah.
You'll be doing all these kind of things. I mean, when I went to school, primary school, and we moved when I was probably 9 or 10, so I went to 2 different primary schools, then secondary school. You were outside in a coat if it rained.
Yep.
You know,
Our teachers would tell us to get out. Yeah, we're going to go and play football regardless.
You got dropped off at school, or you walked to school if it's close enough.
Yeah.
You ran around like a loon before class started.
Yeah.
You had morning break, which is 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You ran around for a loon for an hour at lunchtime. You probably had sport at some point during the course of the day, 2 or 3 times a week. And you probably did the same again, or cycled with your mates after school.
Yeah, after school you'd go home, get changed into your gear, and go, like you say, cycle and run.
Or you play football.
Play football.
So if you go from typically, for me, let's say 2 hours of activity every single day, to if it's now
Possibly
1
a
2
week
hours,
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
You think I did the maths some time back because someone asked me when I was doing my A levels, 16 to 18, how many hours of exercise do they think I did a week? And I said, right, you take away the fact that I went to a very good school where they had their own college on campus where you could be invited to do your A levels. And I got told, because of my academics and I represented the school at all these various sports to the national level, you got a place.
Yep.
So I cycled in and caught the bus sometimes, but cycled in. So that would be 4 miles each way. Yep. Not every day, but most days. Yep. I played football with my friends, rugby with my friends. I played volleyball for 3 different teams, including regional and national levels. I was athletics up to national standard. And I played for a men's Premier League volleyball side. Yeah. I was doing an average, apart from my own fitness, 25 to 30 hours of exercise.
Is this all before what age?
16 to 18.
Okay, so this is still teenage years.
Yeah, so casual cycling and everything else, jogging, high-end sport, 25 to 30 hours a week, certainly during term time.
Yeah.
You imagine now, I'm not saying some don't, saying to a 16 to 18-year-old, you are going to do 20 hours of exercise a week.
Yeah.
What the response would be.
Yeah, and I think it's important to add that you people would possibly argue that are listening right now and say, well, we don't all have that opportunity.
No, exactly.
But I think a lot of what you touched on, the point there is that opportunity potentially. Everyone can walk. Yeah. Everyone can run.
Yeah, and I had to be self-motivated as a teenager to do it.
And getting a football is not something you can. We used to play football with tennis ball.
Yeah, exactly. Or a half-deflated football.
It was something to kick around.
Yeah.
So we're not talking about having access to a multi-million-dollar facility that had the best volleyball systems, etc. But we're talking about everybody can get on their bikes and ride, or go and play, go and climb trees. Yeah, go and climb trees with your friends. Play war, for want of a better word. You know. Grab a stick and pretend it's a machine gun and all that stuff. It's possible for kids to still do that. And anyone that's listening here in Dubai, which I'm sure there will be, yes, the weather is a challenge, but it's not an excuse. There are still possibilities where we don't have open areas. Yeah, we do. You've got to find the time to take your kids to them and not use that as an excuse. Yes, it might be a 20-minute drive. We've got beautiful beaches here. Throw a frisbee, kick a ball, splash around in the ocean, get a paddleboard. You have opportunities. It doesn't cost.
No.
It's now just a desire and a will to actually do that. And I think, from a positive note, because I know we're drawing to an end now, I think if you are someone in the industry and you're frustrated a little bit like I am and you are a little bit, we're still here and we're still trying to make a positive impact.
Sure,
So if you're listening to this now and you're feeling that... all Rich and I have done is bitch about the problems and stuff. I think there are solutions out there. We've touched on what some of those solutions could be. Yes, they're difficult. So what? Difficult things are worth it, right?
Absolutely.
So yes, it's difficult to do this. We do what we can. We might fire clients. We might focus on some, but we are building positive change in that client that might one day have kids who, and then we would hope filters down to them. So there is hope. There is positivity there.
Sure.
We know this stuff. So if you're a coach or a trainer, or even if you're just a member of the public, do some of these things that are simple. Get rid of the sugar in your house. Don't buy sweets. Drink a little bit more water and see how that goes. See if that starts a little bit better.
Well, make this, as I called it in a YouTube video I did recently. Find the small victories.
Yeah, there you go.
Things you can do that no one thing is massively impactful in your day. But like you say, make the better choice several times a day.
If someone calls you, pick up the phone and stand up to have that conversation with them and walk around the house or the office. Yeah. So walk whilst you're talking on the phone and then sit back down at your desk. Yeah. If that's all it is, because I'm pretty confident that if you're someone that takes phone calls, that's a lot of extra steps during the day. Park further away from your office and walk further. Use the stairs, not the lift. We don't have to join the gym. Yeah, sure. You know, if you don't have a dog, borrow a dog. And, well, hey, look, you and I, let's do this, right? There are plenty of dog rescue places here in the UAE that are crying out for volunteers. Now, we're not saying foster because that's an extra thing. Please do that if you can. But there are volunteer places that need people to every 3 or 4 times a week just go and walk their dogs.
Certainly,
and if you do that, leave your phone in your car and just walk the dog. Yeah. Connect with another animal, because we're just animals, and you'll get exercise, you'll get fresh air, you'll get community, and you'll get to look after a dog. Absolutely. And they're better than people, so do that.
I oddly agree. My wife's told me off for saying that, but I do agree. Right. Okay, so last thing to do then, we're going to swing away from the fitness thing. All right. I said at the start, you're a Lego aficionado. Yeah. You're like me, you are. Right. You're a big fan of a lot of different things. I say when it comes to Lego pop culture. I don't just of late know if it's still going, but the Breaking Geek radio podcast. Right?
Yes, sir.
Talk to me about that, because I know that's a big thing that you're into. And like I say, my wife goes nuts because we have a nice apartment and there's sporadically on shelves, there's Lego Technic, Lego Technic, Porsche, Ducati. She has got the space station. I bought her that because she's a space nerd. The sci-fi stuff in her apartment is hers, not mine.
Does she build it too?
Yeah.
Oh, I like Lucy even more now. There you go.
I bought it for her. And said,
it's nice that she appreciates it. It's awesome that she builds it.
Well, the next thing on the list for her is she wants the Saturn V rocket. So I'll get her that.
Next one for me is the Titanic.
I didn't know they made that one.
Dude, 7,500 pieces, 3 feet long. I'm not going to get it, not just because it's 4,000 dirhams, but because where am I going to put it?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Look it up. If anyone, look up the new Titanic Lego. It's over 7,500 pieces.
Right. If you go into
3 foot long.
If you go into more of the Emirates right now, the new Lego stock, it's moved from where it was around by Ski Dubai and down.
Oh, has it really? Good. I'm glad you told me that.
It's down now towards the opposite end near the Nike store. But they've got like a shelf. It's all lit up with the main car models that they've got selling.
Gotcha.
Right? And we walked past it the day and she goes, "You've got half of those."
Yeah.
So you've got
and Christmas is coming up. So how about the other half?
The Porsche GT. You've got the Ducati. You've got this one. I even bought the light kit, the micro LEDs for the Porsche, so you can have it all lit up.
I've seen the add-ons. The booster pack stuff.
And I do want the Lamborghini, the concept car that they've got out, the limited edition.
I'm not familiar with this stuff, but it sounds to me, so forgive me if I'm wrong, that you're like me in the sense that we like building this stuff. Before anyone's out there thinking that we then go home and we play with the Lego and Richard's racing these two cars. I'm pretty sure you're the same. It's not about that. It's
the construction.
I get absolute construction, and we're gonna go on, keep this tangent of getting away from the screen and getting away from stresses of life. I build Lego because it makes me just focus on one enjoyable, simple factor, one thing at a time. There's a lot of stuff I build that I keep for a little while, and then I sell to buy the next set. There's a few pieces that I keep. The things like this one right now, there's a Scout Trooper mask on the desk ready for me to build. Nice. Yeah. So these helmet models from Star Wars and Marvel, I keep because they're for me like ornamental pieces. But the big stuff, I build, I enjoy, I sell, I buy another piece. But just quickly on a question. So Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, it's part of the LRM online website, which is a movie. It's a geek website, but mainly focusing on movies, games, so computer games, comics, and to a certain extent, books and TV, if it's in the geek culture. So sci-fi, fantasy, that kind of stuff. We have various podcasts on the networks, as well as the website, with news pieces and articles and scoops and interviews. We have the podcasts. We're one of 5 or 6 podcasts at the moment, and we're the one, much like today, where we'll prattle on about all sorts of shit, go on for far too long for the average podcast duration where someone's using it on their commute to work. But it is the 4 of us, fans of the genre. One of the guys is a writer. He's a fantasy writer, so he's an author. And another guy is a lawyer for the US military. But we all have this thing in common that we love books, movies, geek stuff, Star Wars, Marvel. We have discussions and disagreements, and we have fun, and that's all it is. It's 4 guys that share the same passion about a certain subject or topic, talking shit.
Yeah.
Every week, though, we do have a theme. So we'll go over the week's news.
Sure.
Like this week, for example, was that unfortunate news of the shooting with Alec Baldwin on set.
Yeah.
But also the fun news, like who's in the new Spider-Man and this new trailer dropped. Any news stuff.
Right.
But we'll also review one film or one TV series.
Cool.
We've done Squid Game.
Yeah.
But we've also done Bond, and we didn't do Dune, actually, because not all of us saw it.
Right.
But if there's something new that's released, we will watch it,
Yeah.
we will review it, we'll tell you when there's spoilers. So we'll say, right, spoilers coming up. And then we'll go straight into it. So if you haven't seen James Bond yet, I'm not going to obviously spoil anything
I know
or
what
about
happens,
Dune or
'cause
anything.
someone spoiled it for me, but
Oh, well, then they're an arsehole. Whoever that was is an arsehole. Because that's something in our culture that, you know, even on our website, it will say spoilers below, and we'll have lots of those asterisks. So even if you accidentally scrolled, you wouldn't actually see it.
Right, okay.
And so that's what it is. And that's the other fun thing that I love to do.
Yeah.
The only downside is we record on a Friday night, 10 o'clock our time,
Right, okay.
because the rest of the guys are in the US.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm talking this stuff till 1 o'clock in the morning on Friday. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but then I'm done. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll go get up at 5.
I'm hopefully doing a podcast, I think, this coming weekend with someone who she used to live in Abu Dhabi, Eva Clark.
I know, Eva Clark. Yeah.
They moved back to Australia.
Oh, they're back there. I did not know that.
She's
Okay.
got her own, I think, Brazilian.
Did she do like a million pull-ups in a minute or whatever? It was 1,000 push-ups a second, or
She set 16,
many world records,
16
didn't she?
Guinness records.
Yeah.
She's back, set up a fitness business in where she lives in Australia, and she's got just opened her own Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu
Good
studio.
for her. Yeah.
I'm meant to be talking to her this weekend, but Australia is 7 hours ahead. And I've already said, which is fair, because I've asked her and she's agreed very generously to be on this podcast.
Yeah.
I've said, look, I will be the one, it's silly hours of the day.
Yeah.
We'll fit it into your normal
Yeah,
daily
gotcha.
routine,
That's very
which is
kind of
fine.
you, yeah.
But I just, bear in mind, I say, us here in the Middle East, our weekend is Friday, Saturday. Hers will be Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
So at least I work on a Saturday morning, and a Sunday is a normal working day for me. So I'm going to have to find this time frame.
Whatever, Richard. No one cares. No, there's no violins playing for you
No, I
because
know.
you're doing what you love to do, right?
that is true, yeah.
It's an observation, not criticism, right? That's
No,
what it is.
absolutely.
So I'll gladly
all-
do this podcast. Yes. So we both love the Lego, but full disclosure, we love the building of it.
Yes,
We're not
construction.
necessarily playing with it.
No, like you said, you sell some of yours. I had for the first serious, as in the bigger one that I had was GT race car. You know, the 24 hours, the prototypes.
The Le Mans thing,
the ones that have the weird bubble cockpit and all
Gotcha.
that.
Yes.
And I had one of those, and that was a dual model, which you could make a Dakar rally car, or you could make the truck, or you can make that car. And it had the option where you can twiddle the knob on the front and all that, and the bonnet and doors, gold wing doors open.
Yeah.
Now, that had been sat underneath our television for ages, and I haven't bought another one yet, but I have been forewarned by the lovely wife.
Yeah.
You're not buying one more thing.
Unless you get rid of enough.
You can get rid of, because we've only got so much shelf space. If you've got something small, like my space station, that goes on a cupboard out the way, it's above our heads. You buy these things that are the size of a large laptop, and there's only so much space. So one of my clients, his little boy is 5, who loves Lego. So I took it in the gym one day in a bag and went, there you go. He was like, what's
Did
this?
you break it down first?
No, as it was.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I said, that's for your little boy. And he took it home and sent me the pictures and said, you've just made my son incredibly happy.
That's very good of you. That's very happy of you. That's very wonderful. I'm still selling my shit. I'm not giving my shit away.
That's fair enough.
I don't know if that was where Richard was heading with that. Don't sell it, Danny, you arsehole. Give it to a small, needy child. No, they can buy it from me.
If I had the space and the spare cash kicking around, I'd get the huge Millennium Falcon and build that.
Yeah, me too. But again, it's a space thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention,
and I don't mean space as in outer space. It's physical space. Yeah.
But I also, I imagine that if I were going to put it anywhere, this thing's probably got to weigh about 6 kilos.
Well, that's why we go to the gym.
Yeah,
that's why we deadlift shit, so we can lift heavy Lego.
That could be the new brand of a new image. Yeah, lift weights so you can build Lego. It's going to be a niche market.
Yeah, I can lift the Titanic.
Yeah. Be a niche market, but it could be a winner.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Danny, thank you very much. That's been 2.25 hours, which is
Holy
fantastic.
shit. There's another beep.
I'm sure people will listen to this because that's been a
Well, if you've made it this
genuinely
far,
informative conversation.
oh my word, thank you.
Yeah. All that's left now to go is, Danny Bartlett, any social media links, websites, please plug them now.
Okay, well, I guess the best one from a work point of view is Instagram, TRX Dubai.
Okay.
I do have my private one, but it's not private, but my personal one, and that's Danny K. Bartlett, but I very rarely post anything. But if you have any questions or you want to complain about anything, I'll happily let you say that. You're entitled to your opinion, even if it's wrong. But go ahead.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, thanks very much, mate. And given the conversation we've had today, we may well revisit a podcast at a future date. But for now, thank you very much.